and you can't even drive? I can. Are you stupid, eh? Are you a stupid fool? Well, why can't you drive then? You can't even drive. A bit grey today, isn't it?
Can't even drive, Time Stealer. Hello, I'm here.
Oh, hello, banging tune. Banging tune's played and we're in. We're ready. Strap in for some tism. Let's go.
Now, every once in a while, people say, "Well, what is that tune? What's that song you're playing?" That is, believe it or not, the theme song for Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk in All Japan Wrestling, circa 1983. It's known as spinning toe hold. Is the name
it's
of that
funny
track.
you should mention wrestling because I've been busy, but in between being busy, I've been in a bit of a wrestling deep dive recently. I've been watching some old stuff from the Attitude Era I watched as a lad. And I've come to the conclusion that William Regal is essentially an Anglo-reactionary. He was trying to civilize America, but he keeps getting subverted and defeated by the sort of deracinated forces of Globo Homo. And I think we might have to do a small stream investigating this because there is legit some footage where he's trying to just tell Americans how shit they are and that they've got dysfunctional families and they're all slobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting era, that the Attitude Era, because in a way it's a signal of the Ashes itself, because of course all of the kind of wholesome all-American values that the likes of Hulk Hogan were meant to stand for were stood on their head. So I mean, literally in that era, you had Kurt Angle, an Olympic gold medalist, dressed in the stars and stripes, and he was a heel, and he was hated, and he was drinking milk and taking vitamins and all the rest of it.
There was a tag team that was literally called D-Generation X.
Yeah, and they were degenerates as well.
Yes, exactly.
So it'd be very interesting to go back to that era. I mean, I always thought D-Generation X were completely cringe, even when they were a thing. I hated them.
My favorite tag team was Too Cool because they were deliberately trying to be cringe, and that's why they were funny, because they were just so over the top and ridiculous that they were just hilarious.
I kind of like Right to Censor during that period, in a Mary White's house. Anyway, we are not here to talk about wrestling. We are here to talk about arguably the greatest RPG of all time, Baldur's Gate 2, and its prequel, Baldur's Gate 1, which is also a very good game, and indeed the kind of sequel, or the expansion pack, I guess you could say, Throne of Baal. It's basically a trilogy, isn't it, Time Stealer?
Yes.
We are not going to be talking about the forthcoming Baldur's Gate 3, which, I haven't even looked at it, but I assume it's garbage. So,
it's been sat in my Steam library, and I will probably play it when it's fully released, but it is by the people who made Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2, which were quite good.
Yeah.
I gather your friend Morcar's been playing Divinity Original Sin, so...
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, wherever he's gone. I mean, I know he's gone off on an evil wizardly adventure recently, Time Stealer, and he's away at the moment, yeah. Don't know why. Just before we get on, I will mention I have a William Regal bootleg set, Time Stealer,
of course you do.
A 20-disc one, and it starts right in the 1980s. In fact, do you remember I made that Ashes of Civilization?
Yeah, that was him at Blackpool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was I took that footage from that DVD I had of Regal at Blackpool. I mean, he is one of the only wrestlers in the world who bridged that kind of world of sport style and era, meshed it with the kind of Billy Robinson international Englishman deal, because he worked all around Europe. He worked for Otto Wands. And various
South Africa,
various other kind of obscure promoters that you'd never have heard of. And then he went to WCW, and of course he also had a career in Japan as well that people don't really know about. Like he has phenomenal matches in the mid-90s there before he actually starts working for Vince. So there's a lot to get into for.
I was watching an interview with him where he was just talking about his life, and I was getting a bit almost emotional. You said you cried when you made the Ashes of Civilization about Blackpool. Yeah. It had the same energy because he started in just a circus tent wrestling. At the seaside. He was like the last of that generation of wrestlers.
He is a fascinating character, and maybe one day we'll do that. I also happen to think that he's possibly in terms of facial expressions, he's possibly second only to Rowan Atkinson. Yeah, it's like the greatest comedic actor of his generation or something.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about wrestling or indeed William Regal. We are here to talk about Baldur's Gate. Now, we're going to divide this stream, Time Stealer. We're going to do all of these things at once, okay? But the stream is going to be, I appreciate not everybody will have played Baldur's Gate, especially some of the younger viewers.
Zoomers.
I threw up in my mouth briefly, but some of the younger.
Sorry, can I just say, what's the worst thing?
Yeah.
When you say to someone that Baldur's Gate is one of your favorite games, and they go, "Oh yeah, I remember playing that. I really enjoyed it," and then you find out about 10 minutes down the line that they're talking about Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance.
Oh, just don't even talk to me about it. Anyway, we're going to divide our time between trying to explain to the sprogs of this world if they would enjoy the game and if it's worth playing. Okay. That's about 1/3 of it.
Mm-hmm.
1/3 of it is just me and you kind of nerd spurging out for 2 hours, just kind of, reliving our memories and just having a good old geek fest, Time Stealer.
Excellent.
And then another third of it is kind of going through actually some of the lore of Baldur's Gate. So, the first part will be like, well, what makes it a great game? Why do people consider, especially people of, I think anybody, I don't know about you. I played this game when it came out back in 2001, something like that it was. And ever since I've played it, it has been the benchmark against which I judge all other RPGs de facto. It was a mind, you talked about crying William Regal or Blackpool. The first time I ever completed Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Arm, when I got to the ending, I literally cried.
Yeah,
and I've heavy. not cried kind of like I cry like you cry at the end of a film, something like that. I can't really think of many games where I've had that sort of reaction when I got to the end of this epic adventure. Okay. I would say that since that first playthrough, and I can't even remember what my party was now, but it was probably awful. It's probably like really suboptimal and I think they had that stupid bard in the party, I forget his name.
Head Alice, the tiefling.
I just had a horrible, and I hadn't, at the start where you re-roll your stats, I just kind of went with whatever I was given at the start because I didn't know what I was doing. So obviously, as soon as you finish, you're like, well, now I know. Now I have to play the game again properly, type thing. So I reckon I've gone through all of Baldur's Gate, like the whole trilogy, let's say, maybe 5 times, all in. So I know the game very well. In fact, it's the only game I ever actually created a mod for. I was even part of a bit of
I remember this bit of AA lore. Yeah.
Yeah, I created a mod for Baldur's Gate 1, believe it or not. Well, when you talk to the characters, like major characters in the game, and they've all got that little portrait in Baldur's Gate 2.
Yes.
I didn't like the fact that in Baldur's Gate 1, like literally only Saravok and like Elminster have a portrait. So I went in and gave all of the major NPCs that you talk to a portrait in the game. That was all my mod did. I think it's since been like superseded. Like the mod community is still.
I've had a similar mod installed. I don't know if it's that particular one, but it's similar.
I think it's been now in the days of the super duper advanced edition and so on. I will say when I play this game now, I play it through a massive conversion mod called Baldur's Gate Trilogy, Time Stealer.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Which basically puts all of the games in one massive game. So you take the same character from the very start of Baldur's Gate 1 all the way to the end, okay? And then within that, there's a shitload of like little mini tweaks and mods and things that are kind of under the hood as well. So I play it like fully converted, fully modded up, even with the enhanced edition. You still need all that other gubbins, I would say. And even for first-time players, I think putting it all together in that trilogy makes it a very seamless experience. I mean, for one thing, I prefer the Baldur's Gate 2 engine to the BG1 engine. And being able to play BG1 in the BG2 engine in itself is good.
It's the same engine. It's just the UI.
It's the UI. It's the UI is what I mean. Yeah, the I just prefer the colors and some of the other little things.
It is a bit more utilitarian. Isn't there like a version of Baldur's Gate Trilogy where you can actually include the Icewind Dale games in that mod as well, and you can visit Icewind Dale as a character?
Well, what it has is one massive map of the entire Forgotten Realms in there.
Yeah.
So you can actually, in fact, in the latest Baldur's Gate trilogy, you can actually travel from BG1 to BG2.
Yes.
On the same map, which is quite, in practice, you actually have no reason to go back to BG1 whatsoever. I mean, what do you need to go back for?
No, there isn't. No, I was saying, well, yes, because there isn't really any reason
but it's still kind of neat that you see the whole map.
The only reason you might go back is some of the stuff from the expansion for the first Baldur's Gate might be a bit tricky if you've not.
Durlag's. If you don't know what you're doing, Durlag's Tower is tough.
Yeah, and there's that thing with the demon in that other area.
So I mean, let's just start with, before we get into the lore and before we start. I mean, we have got planned. Time Steel has made this incredible organization chart of the kind of villain organization from BG1, which I cannot wait to get into.
I just gotta say that in order to sell this to your very autistic econ sort of aligned audience, Baldur's Gate, the original one, is one of the few games where having a knowledge of economics actually improves the plot quality for you. Like you
actually does. Yeah, because their plot is all about like starving the iron supply.
I always wondered if one of the people who wrote that was like secretly into Austrian economics or something, because it is very sort of, they create artificial scarcity, don't they, in order to up the supply.
And there's government corruption and all sorts of things. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, actually. But I mean, when I was really looking at, I discovered that when Time Stealer sent me this chart, I, previously had made my own version of this. I mean, I don't have it anymore, but I literally went through and made this exact chart that you've made, Time Stealer, because it's so fascinating. Just the hierarchy of that organization and how, like, kind of, Byzantine it is in a way, and the way it's revealed through the plot is kind of cool. But anyway, before we get to all of that stuff, and we also want to do a tier list where we talk through all of the playable NPCs, because as we'll talk about,
yes, Baldur's we need Gate to do a ranking of all the party members, I believe.
So I mean, as we're about to get on to. Baldur's Gate is a Dungeons and Dragons game. I think it's based on, is it the 2.5?
It's just second edition.
Second edition. I think it's a tweaked second edition. I think it's a tweaked second edition.
Yes.
Yes.
It's advanced Dungeons and Dragons, they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition rules, which means all of the things that make D&D good, like the fact that if you're a wizard, you can't fucking wear armor. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're a cleric, you can't use pointy weapons. I mean, these things are.
If I ever play like a D&D, more recent D&D game, or if I play actual pen and paper D&D, which I'm doing at the moment, and I'm a cleric, which I am at the moment, guess what I use? A warhammer, because clerics shouldn't fucking use swords. They use blunt weapons only. It's just
exactly. I mean, there's this insanely complicated Thacker, to hit armor class 0, which is a completely counterintuitive thing where weapons are plus, but armor class is minus.
Negative.
Yeah, so AC minus 10 is good, but a sword plus 5 is good.
I played Baldur's Gate 2 about 10 times, and I still don't understand how Thaco works. All I know that for armor, line go down good, and for weapons, line go up good. That's basically it.
I mean, you could get too involved with it, I suppose. But of course, and in a different lifetime, Steele, I'd been making videos on how to understand Thaco instead of economics videos. But just to try to sell it to, I mean, in a way, I just think they don't deserve to play it, Time Stealer. That's my honest view. But in my experience, actually, I do find younger gamers struggle to go back and play BG for some reason, and I don't know why that is.
It's the graphics. They don't like the graphics. That's all it is. They can't.
Yeah, but you see, I completely. I mean, you see, this could be how you're socialized, but to me, that game that you mentioned, was it Dragon Age Origins?
Yes.
That was made in 2009. It already looks dated as hell. It's got those clunky, kind of horrible 3D polygony graphics, and it's just like, this just looks like a game from the mid 2000s. Whereas because Baldur's Gate is isometric and it's got that lovely kind of painted artwork on the maps, and really the characters are just those little paper dolls, is absolutely, I mean, it hasn't, to me, it hasn't dated at all. I can pick it up and play it tomorrow.
I'm inclined to agree. I think the Infinity Engine games have aged very well. And I like Dragon Age Origins. Morcar has disappointed me greatly with his dismissal of it because I really like it. But it's not as good as Baldur's Gate 2, obviously. But it hasn't aged as well visually because it's got that, like you said, mid to late 2000s 3D graphic style. But it just doesn't age well.
I've always thought this, that 3D games age poorly, whereas 2D games age, so I'll give you an example, right? And again, some people may disagree, but I think Zelda: Link to the Past has aged better than Ocarina of Time. And the reason I think that is because those 16-bit graphics are lovely and they still look lovely today. That's why people make games in pixel graphics on Steam all the time. Yes. But absolutely nobody decides to make a game that looks like Star Fox. Do you know what I mean? Because those graphics look shit.
You do get a lot of people making, like you said, sort of pixel art type games, not because they have to, but because there is, it's quite cost effective, but it's also, it just has a timeless visual style to it that a lot of people like. And I think the Infinity Engine games, like I said, have aged very, very well.
No, there's something. So that's graphics, but there's something else that I think you cannot quantify, and that is just the word charm. There's a charm to Baldur's Gate that I find missing in a lot of more recent games. I've never quite been able to put my finger on what that is, but it's like, because it's not like it doesn't take itself seriously. It does. This is not a comedy game. It is it's D&D played straight, right? Time Stealer.
Oh, it's incredibly dark. The second one especially is very dark.
Yeah, I mean, it's dark, but it's also like straight.
But yet it also has some very funny moments. Like it has some massively comedic stuff.
It's got amazing humor, right? But it's straight. I'm trying to explain what I mean by that.
I know what you mean.
Right. Take Keldorn, right? Keldorn in Baldur's Gate 2 is a paladin. He's with the what's the Order of the Radiant Heart, okay?
Yes.
He is a straight-laced, goody two-shoes, holier than thou paladin, and that's all he is.
Keldorn's basically a trad calf in a fantasy setting, essentially.
Right. Now Minsk, who's a kind of lovable ranger guy with a little hamster, he's a much more comedic character. Go for the eyes, boo, and all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
He's got a pet talking space hamster. But
a miniature giant space hamster.
Yeah, but even within the confines of being a more comedy character, he is literally just a goofball. It's not like the game is saying, ha ha, look how self-aware we are, making all these little in-jokes and stuff, like a lot of modern games do. It's just like he's a funny character. It's not like he's a knowingly self-aware, postmodern, funny character. Does that make sense?
It has a level of sincerity that modern.
Yeah, it's innocent. He's like, he's an innocently comedic character, not a kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, knowing to the nerdy audience comic character, if that makes sense.
That's because these games were made by people who probably grew up playing D&D, in the 80s when it first came out, and they weren't as jaded because they hadn't been a sort of exposed to the sheer amount of like fantasy and media content, but my generation has, because they just, to them it was quite pure, and they just haven't had the chance to, even though they might technically have been Gen X, they didn't have that Gen X cynicism when they wrote it.
You see, people are saying that the genre deconstruction wasn't fashionable back in the 90s. It was. Go back and play Simon the Sorcerer games, or bloody there was so much. Well, Monkey Island, even Monkey Island was super self-aware of itself. It's not like there weren't smartasses in the 90s in games. There were.
Oh, there were. Yeah.
There were. I mean, even the Warcraft games were a little bit self-aware.
I was going to say StarCraft was actually weirdly quite self-aware in terms of just like rednecks in space type stuff. Like
I was thinking of like Warcraft 3 when you click on the little peons and they say
be happy to.
Yeah, exactly. There's or even like Dungeon Keeper has a lot of kind of self-aware humor in it.
Yes,
but in a way, you see, I'm not saying that this is a result of being made in the late 90s. I'm saying that even at the time, its level of kind of sincerity and innocence, quote unquote, was possibly a little bit different from what from what we may have expected. Because there had been a lot of that joking stuff, and I actually, it's probably the LucasArts studio. The Monkey Island games have brought in a lot of that stuff because they were constantly nudging and winking to the audience and playing with knowledge of like paper, pen and paper games and things like that. So, so anyway, the sincerity is one, the charm, which is part of that charm, but also I just think the fundamental mechanics of the D&D are really solid. Like the system. It kind of feels arcane, and it has like elements that I can't explain, but it's like, well, the experience of playing as a wizard at level 1, you are pathetic. You are,
3 HP.
You've got like 3 HP and literally a cat in, walking across the map, or a kobold whose arrow goes the wrong way is going to kill you straight.
A gibberling.
A gibberling is going to one-shot you at level 1 in BG1. By the time you're a level 30 mage at the end of Throne of Baal,
you can't reach level 30 at Throne of Baal. The level cap's like 18 or something, isn't it? Isn't the level cap at 18?
I always remove the level cap at times.
Well, yeah.
But no, I think I think they massively upped the level cap after Shadows of Arm.
Throne of Baal has an up level cap, but I think they kind of soft capped it.
But anyway, it doesn't. By the time you're casting level 10 spells at the end of Throne of Baal, that wizard is so fucking powerful.
Oh yeah,
and the game makes you feel like if you've taken that same party or the same character from the start of the first game, where you're I can't think of many games that make you feel that journey of. You see, this is something else I hate in more modern RPGs times T, and I think it was at the Elder Scroll games that brought this in, was the bloody the monsters that level up with you. So everything's always parity.
Oblivion had that. It was awful. Level scaling.
The whole point of leveling up is that you should at some point be made to feel like you're absolutely powerful, right? Am I wrong? You should.
No, you're right. You're right, because you just randomly run across some little bandit minions and you massacre them. Yeah. Bandit minions that at the start of the game would have absolutely massacred you.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a moment where you come across that party, would have been quite. In fact, there's a moment later on in the game where you meet a young party and you send them off for a quest, which is lovely. That moment. I mean, awesome little touches like that. But
there's that moment in Throne of Baal where you're in the lair of the dragon Balspawn, where you meet like that level 1 party, and then they're just like, "Bro, we can totally take this guy. You cast magic missile, and I'll backstab." Yeah.
I mean, my last journey through the game, Time Stealer. In fact, I still haven't quite finished it. I'm kind of midway through Throne of Baal, and I got busy, and I ended up not going back to it. But
having children will have that effect on your life. Yes,
I had an evil. In fact, I remember when AAA was first born, I was still kind of trying to play it all night when I had to babysit. I took an evil wizard party through, like an evil party through, pure evil party. Because in a way, the characters added by bloody Beamdog, they mainly added evil characters, so it was almost encouraging you to pick, to go through the game evil.
Yes.
I took that bloody vampire Hexat and Dawn,
the Bane, the Pock.
And I took Dawn all the way through, but anyway, I had Edwin in the party, and my main character was an evil sorcerer, and by the end, or by the time I was in Throne of Baal, between them, I think they had like over 20 magic missiles or something. It was just like they could just, and I think they had all those the robes that make you cast magic faster and all of that.
Oh yeah.
So they could literally.
You can basically insta cast magic missile once you've got all of those. Yeah.
So literally, they were just obliterating, like turning enemy to dust just with magic missile. But anyway, okay, what should we do? How are we going to go through this? Do you want to start with the plot of Baldur's Gate 1, or is there anything else generally that you want to say about Baldur's Gate and younger fans and their expectations of RPGs?
I think there's a lot of reading in Baldur's Gate, and that would scare a lot of Zoomers, to be honest. I think the younguns might struggle with all the reading. They don't do the words very well. And honestly, they play it and they probably just find it kind of cringe and campy, because like to them it is cringe and campy to them. It's not to me and you. But to them, they would just be like, they just wouldn't.
Okay, if that's their view, they would deserve to play it. But I mean, if anybody's played Morrowind, I think Morrowind and Baldur's Gate have this in common, where a lot of the lore is revealed through reading like scrolls or little books that you pick up during the game. I mean, you don't have to read them all, but it kind of helps with the immersion a bit if you read some of the stuff going through.
The Elder Scrolls games, I mean, even like Oblivion and Skyrim as well, they have that, and you do learn stuff about characters within the wider lore of the game that you don't even meet in the game. You learn about, a lot of the time you learn about characters from previous games by reading books in the game that you're playing, actually, which is quite like that. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, but what I would say the Baldur's Gate games have over basically any other RPG I can think of is that because they had that D&D license from the Forgotten Realms, they basically had a deep reservoir of lore that they could draw from, like,
massive.
And I'm talking huge. We're just talking all D&D here, so that with its own like gods and deities who each have their backstories and different ages, and it's basically like probably bigger than Tolkien, the lore in
probably. Yeah.
So that means that if the fancy takes you and you want to read about, like, I don't know, the 12th Winter War or wherever you're hanging out in this library, you can. But if you're not interested, you can also just leave it, and the game is still great, I would say. But the lore is really, really, really deep, I would say.
Well, yeah, the lore's deep because they have not only the Forgotten Realms lore, but there are a few occasions in the games where you either plane travel or you meet people from other planes, which is a thing about D&D not everyone necessarily realizes, is that there's different sort of worlds and then you can travel between the different worlds using magical means, and you do that a little bit in the game. So it's like huge. That's why it's bigger than Tolkien, because it's not just one world; it's many that you can explore.
So I'm not saying like the lore of Baldur's Gate itself is bigger than Tolkien, but the expanded lore of Forgotten Realms is probably at this point, or at the point that BG was made. And it's got that underneath it, so you're on a very so you feel like it feels like you are just kind of looking into this one moment in this living, breathing universe that exists beyond like the moment that you're playing in the game, if that makes any sense. I don't know many other games that manage to do that quite as well.
It's like you don't have to know who Elminster is or who the Harpers are or where Waterdeep is, but if you do know where it is, it makes it feel like you're part of this much bigger universe.
And one of the cool things in the game is that you glimpse these things without ever actually going there or meeting these. But like the Zentarim, right? They're like they are like, there was a whole I remember them because I had the big box with the manual, and you're looking through the manual. There's a whole section on the Zentarim. You never meet them. You never meet anyone who's from them. They're not in the game.
Did you have the original copy of it where you had 5 CDs and you had to keep changing them over? Oh my god!
Yeah, the original big box.
What a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, I know it was.
Just gotta have to sit Squire Turn It Down with an original CD copy of Baldur's Gate and make him keep changing CD every time and make him play
it. So anything else? So the lore is very deep.
Let's go in.
You play with a party. So it's properly D&D. You play with a party of 6.
Yes.
You create your own character yourself.
Yep.
You give him a backstory if you want, but it's kind of given to you by the game, really, because you are the ward of Gorion. Gorion's ward.
Ward.
You grew up in a place called Candlekeep, so this kind of library and kind of a sheltered upbringing, I guess.
I think if you were in D&D, you would be one of those monks at Candlekeep as well. You'd be there just lecturing the other monks on econ, and you'd just be like, with your hood. And
I always thought Candlekeep looks kind of cozy. It
does. It's well cozy.
Yeah, but anyway, you create that character, and you've got. I mean, by the end, there's so many classes and kits, and you can dual class. You can play as a human, elf, dwarf, bloody halfling,
half elf,
half orc,
half elves,
half elf.
No, can you play as a gnome?
You can play as a gnome, and they each have their own kind of. I mean, again, just the character creation in D&D. There's literally a player's manual devoted to that, right? And like that is simulated
pretty much
within the game. I mean, obviously they may simplify bits and bobs, or it's quicker making a character than actually sitting down to do it, but it's pretty deep. And then you kind of really have to, I mean, I would say, you'll play it once, you don't know what you're doing, then you have to play it again knowing what you're doing. But these classes, they are restrictive, aren't they? It's like, well, if you're a druid, for example, you can't use any metal weapons, and you've only got like naturey spells to use, type thing.
There's a lot of race restrictions as well.
Racial restrictions and bonuses, like elves make better mages and all this sort of stuff. So there's a lot to get in. If you're into the spreadsheet side of the gaming, as I am, you can really get into that side of it, because it's built on D&D. So there's a lot to it. But at the same time, it's done in such a way that if you're not into that, you kind of don't have to lose too much sleep over it, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, unless you're just like, it's like you really want to be a particular race and a particular class, and the game says, no, you can't do it. But other than that, like, if you're going for aesthetics and role-playing over sort of optimal class, you could be a bit struggling.
But again, I mean, we talk about, like, again, this is another trend that I fucking hate in modern games, right? Oh, you can be anything. It doesn't, want to want to be a wizard who wields a sword and goes around in armor, but can still, you can do it in this. Oh, you can customize every aspect that you want. You know, what's the fucking point of a class then? Why do you want to customize every last inch of the damn thing? I don't understand that drive. Yeah, I see it as inherently SJ. In fact, I see it as a sign of fucking civilizational decline, that you have to be able to, you know, you can just do anything you want. Basically, you can do anything you want. You know, well, fuck me do then. What's the point? Anyway, sorry. What do you think?
I was just going to say, it's one of the things I kind of applaud Blizzard for keeping in World of Warcraft is that, and I don't really play WoW, but you can't. Not every race can play every class. It's just you just can't, because it doesn't make sense within the lore, and so they've kept that ever since. Like, you know, even sure I'm sure there would have been people that would accompany like, guys, let's lift the class restrictions to raise so you can play a Tauren. I don't know.
Yeah, let's play as a lesbian bloody half orc. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's what we really want. Yeah, lesbian bird half orc who's actually a sorcerer who can do. You know, it's just like bollocks. No. Half orc will smash with big sword.
Big sword. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's a few other aspects to this. So a huge part of the game and its appeal, I would say, Time Stealer, is the fact that you round out. So you have a party of 5 other players. Okay. Unlike in certain older parts.
Can I just say there's some controversy in the chat?
What?
The Judas is pointing out that Tauren paladins do exist, and they in WoW, and that was like a massive cook. Basically, they were cooking to the fan base by letting people have Tauren paladins, which doesn't make any sense. So even WoW has a little bit of that, just letting people
do whatever you want, you know. Anyway, so a huge part of the game is the fact that you build up this party of companions over five people. Okay, 5 other people, and then your character makes the 6th one. And unlike in earlier games like Wizardry, for example, where you make the whole party, or Icewind Dale, where you make the whole party, okay, or in D&D, where you would make the whole party. In this, you meet NPCs, okay, and you fill out your party with various different companions that you meet. Some of whom are good, some of whom are evil. Of course, there's the D&D good and evil and neutral alignment system as well.
Yes.
And for me, someone who likes management games, Time Stealer, a huge part of the appeal of Baldur's Gate is actually the fact that there's like a mini management game in it, managing the composition of your party, making sure everybody because some of the NPCs don't get on with each other, they argue, they banter, they bicker with each other, and you can also, and again, we can talk about fucking trends in RPGs after this, because I mean, it was BioWare who made this, wasn't it? Published by Interplay.
Yep.
There were, you can actually romance various ones.
Oh yes, you can.
Yeah, but it's done in such a way that is almost inobtrusive. Okay, I see it now where games come out and it's like emblazoned. It's like, here's the romance bit, or it's put as a fucking selling point, or romanceable NPCs and all of this. Whereas the way it's done in BG is almost kind of like you almost wouldn't know it was happening, because you generally have to chat to your party members quite a bit, and it just so happens that if you speak to, I don't know, Viconica a certain way, or Mazzy or whoever it is, you may get into kind of romance dialogues or end up sleeping with them or something. But it's not like, it doesn't be, there's no like flashing light that comes up saying this is a romance bit, or it doesn't really draw attention to itself. And
it doesn't say press X to shag, basically.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that was popular in Baldur's Gate, that romance part of it.
Yeah,
okay.
It yeah.
And it's still part of the charm of the game. But I feel like the wrong lesson was drawn, and that they really like BioWare really ran with that later on in the noughties and almost made it like the whole game a bloody romance simulator. So
it is very popular, and yeah, I know what you mean, but it varies from game to game how well they implement it. Really, to be honest, I did like Morrigan in Dragon Age Origins. She was fantastic. She was very good, but a lot of times it's just cringe. To be honest, it's very hit and miss when they do it in more modern games. Really.
So that's another part of it where a huge part of the game is managing this party that you have, and then a third part of it, Time Stealer, is the actual nuts and bolts combat, which I would say is really deep and tactical and fun. Like the actual just the actual just dungeoneering and fighting, and because there is there's other elements that we'll talk about in a second, but even if there was basically no story, I still think BG would be quite a good game.
Particularly Baldur's Gate 2, the combat in that has a lot of layers. Baldur's Gate 1 was a bit more simple, but still also quite complex. That's why they made Icewind Dale, because those are basically minimal on story and characters, but it's all just about combat in those games because the combat in the engine's so good.
Yeah, because it's technically deep, and let's face it, another huge part of this game is you're going to be. I mean, people call it scum saving. You will not get anywhere close to completing Baldur's Gate or Baldur's Gate 2 if you do not incessantly quick save and reload.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sometimes you may have to quick save and reload the same encounter 20 times, 30 times, easy. I'm thinking of things.
I don't because I'm good at the game. But
come on, so I'm talking like trying to face Twisted Rune at level 12 or something. You can't. I mean, there are tough fights. Unless you bloody cheese, that big dragon or whatever, you're going to have some tough fights in the game.
Firecrag.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have. There are tough fights in the game.
So you're against the cheese? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying that there are certain moments in the game where you could genuinely have to save and reload quite a few times just to get through like a little dungeon or whatever. I mean, especially in BG1 when you can be one shot by like everything until you're about level 3.
Yes.
You could easily. I mean, think of that assassin on the bloody Friendly Arm Inn. You can survive that encounter if you're a fighter, but if you're a weakling wizard, it's
that's what the formation button's for. That's what the formation. Literally, there is strategy and tactics to how you just walk about on the map because you want your fighters at the front. Because if you get jumped, which you do a lot, you need them because they can take a few arrows basically.
And there's another fucker as well down in that mine, down in the Is it the Nashkel Mines?
Nashkel Mines.
Yeah, the one who jumps you up by the dorm or whatever. That's a difficult fight early on in the game if you're not expecting. I'm thinking about
I know,
like a newbie player first time through the game. You could easily save and reload 10 times there. But anyway,
that's like.
I'm not saying now I can breeze through it because I know exactly what I'm doing.
Like early on, there's a few encounters that stand out. Like there's a couple of ogres that are quite close to the Friendly Army, and early on, the ones with the belts, and they'll just fuck you up. And there's also you encounter if you wander off the main path of it, you encounter some hobgoblins that've got poison arrows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if you haven't got antidote or cure poison, you are fucked. Like you're just gonna die. Everyone dies. So yeah, that's what I like about it, though. I mean, there are areas in that game where you're just going to have to say to yourself, "I am going to come back here later," because I just can't do it now. Like it's just,
What I'm saying is that people these days say like scum saving, but for Baldur's Gate, it was designed with the idea that you would save and reload a lot. I think even the bloody loading screen says save a lot. Yes. You're going to need to reload a lot. So the game is expecting you to die a lot. If that makes sense, it's part of the design that you are going to get into situations that you can't get out of.
It reminds me of another particular game that your friend Morcar was playing.
Oh, you're talking about that Dark Souls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I guess the Dark Souls is it's a slightly different genre, but
Yes.
from what I've seen of it, there's a little bit of that as well. But I would say the difference between something like a Dark Souls and BG is a Dark Souls a lot about kind of knowing what is where, learning a little bit by rote, execution of the actual skills. Whereas the situations that you'll get into in Baldur's Gate require you basically to think and to strategize and to. It's often a question of tactics, as you were saying, or formation, or it's like, well, maybe if I use this buff with this weapon, or because there are so many different options and so many different party compositions and so many different ways to play the game that you could come at the same problem like literally 50 different ways.
It's like one of the interesting ways that the rule set makes it more challenging is, particularly in 2, there's certain enemies that you need magical weapons to do any damage to, because the weapon has no effect type lines that everyone has, and you just simply cannot do damage to vampires, for example, unless you have a magical weapon of some sort. And so
yeah, that's true as well.
It's like a hard difficulty cap there, really, where it's just you need to.
Yeah, but even that said, I wouldn't say it's a difficult. Even despite that, I wouldn't say it's a rock hard game.
No, it's not.
It's not. But in fact, it's a very nice, enjoyable. And this is the thing: people say, "Well, why is it the greatest RPG?" In my mind, it does all of the things you could possibly ask for an RPG. I mean, it may not be the best in any one of those categories. You could probably think of games with a deeper leveling system. You could probably think of games with. I don't know if many games have deeper lore, but you could probably find one, right? You could find games with a better or more cinematic story. Right, you could find games with better combat or whatever, but I don't know of a game that does them all at a very high level. Basically,
yeah, that is literally what I tell people when I'm explaining why it's the best RPG of all time. Because some people go, "Yeah, the story in Planescape Torment was better." And I was like, "Well, yeah, maybe it was, but the combat was naff." So compared to Baldur's Gate, so it's just Baldur's Gate 2 just has the best overall sort of consistency. It may be
like a 9 out of 10 in every category without being 10 out of 10 in any category.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which makes it a 10 out of 10 overall.
I mean, it's 10 out of 10 in Drow Booty, but other than that, it's just we'll get onto that later.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other things to mention, which is now we're going to get on to the story. Okay, now I have a preference a lot of the time that I find narrative can be very intrusive in games, especially when you're forced to watch loads of cutscenes and so on. But there's something about the way that Baldur's Gate does it that kind of takes you with it, and you very rarely find yourself like being sick of like having to listen to dialogue or talk to people or anything, because it does it there's never too much of it, and it does it in such a way that is compelling. And I think a large part of that, which is the final element that I don't think we've mentioned, is arguably it's got the best voice acting ever in a game. That's one area where it is genuinely
a strong claim.
It's arguably. I mean, I'm trying to think of other games that I would say is like a 10 out of 10 voice talent. What was that one with? What was that one with?
You played Witcher 3. That has some excellent voice acting.
What was that one? Was it Portal 2 that had Ricky Gervais's mate in it?
Oh yeah, it did, and it had fucking J. Jonah Jameson in it, didn't it? The guy plays him.
I mean, Portal games have got good voice acting. I mean, Thief games have good voice acting, but I mean, I'd certainly say it's up there. Sure, maybe Witcher 3 is also a 10 out of 10 for voice acting, but I would say BG 2 at least would be in the conversation for, David Warner alone.
David Warner is so good.
+5.
Oh, he's so good.
So there we go. So I would say the voice acting is a huge part of the game. And I was thinking about this before. It's like, well, if if you actually think about some of the companions, there's not actually that much writing around them or that much like story there. But it's
especially not in the first game. The first game, a lot of the characters don't really have much story at all.
But it's the fact that they all have their different voice. Like when you click on them, they have their little catchphrases and the things. And I think an awful lot of characterization in the game is just done through voice. It's just done through the suggestion of, and also the fact that they've all got really definite characters. Like, I mean, we'll talk about some of them soon, but I love Edwin as a character, for example. He's such a grouchy bastard, and he's
you are basically Edwin, to be honest.
I am Edwin.
That's the character I would associate most of you with. Yes.
So, all right, shall we get on then?
Yeah, we need to get on, don't we? We need to crack on.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about the story of Baldur's Gate 1. I mean, why don't I share your organizational chart here, and we'll talk through it a little bit. So here we go. This is what are we seeing here, Time Stealer?
What we are seeing here is the hierarchy of an organization known as the Iron Throne, or specifically their branch in the Sword Coast. They are sort of the primary antagonistic group in the game, the first game. Although you don't know that at first. This is all slowly uncovered in fact, to be honest, you don't really find out that the Iron Throne is responsible until at least a good halfway through the game, really, in real terms. But this is the sort of the organizational chart that you need to understand, and you kind of work your way up through the minions.
Because at first it's just this guy down here.
Yeah, Mullahay.
Yeah,
Mullahay's a half-orc cleric, and basically, we better explain the plot of the game initially. You start, like you said, in Candlekeep. It's kind of quite bucolic, sort of quite a nice, cozy place. But then your adopted father, your foster father, you and him leave, and he gets killed by this mysterious absolute unit in armor. And then you have to sort of go on this quest to find out who killed him. And there's this big iron shortage. All the iron in the Sword Coast, which is the part of the game takes place in, part of the world, is rubbish. So there's a problem with all the iron. And then Mullahay is the first person you meet in the iron mine in Nashkel, who you realise is part of this big conspiracy. There's this huge conspiracy going on. And you work your way up through the minion ladder.
Yeah, he's been poisoning the iron, he's been corrupting the iron supply or something down in the mines.
Yeah, basically he has kobolds that work for him that have been poisoning the iron with some sort of alchemical mixture that makes the iron crumble and break, and so it's very low quality. But Mullahay is like the ultimate minion in these games. He's when you turn up, he's frightened because he thinks Tazok sent you, but you don't know who Tazok is yet. But he's like, oh shit, did Tazok send you?
Yeah, I mean, we were saying when we had so much fun doing this is that that's all throughout it. You're getting these. In fact, we mentioned Thief does this as well, which I love. You get all these notes from Tazok to it's dear Malay. You better fucking sort this out.
Yeah.
Signed T, or whatever.
And then there's that note where you find out the kobolds have been killing the miners, and Tazok's pissed at Mullahay because they basically blew their cover by killing the miners. And it's like, you know how the sort of the minion hierarchy was the guy above you always gives you shit. And so then you also give shit to the person below you. And so Mullahay probably gives the kobold shit for killing the miners. And it's just they are just random nameless kobolds.
But then it's hilarious later on when you're in I forget where Tazok actually is now in the game.
He's in the bandit camp.
In the bandit camp. Yeah. But isn't there a few dear Tazok, buck up your ideas,
Yeah, exactly, because he gets letters from Davor and Saravok. But under Tazok has under his command the mercenary group known as the Chill.
The Chill,
and the Black Talons mercenary group, and he has just random bandits as well, and they're basically raiding the caravans, taking iron, creating economic strife, essentially.
So I kicked him in the head and he was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Bandits.
So the head and he was dead. And
they're such little dweebs, aren't they?
And Tazok, he reports to Davon.
Yes.
Okay. He reports to Davon, who is in charge of basically the Iron Throne. They've been creating this iron shortage, and then they also reactivated an iron mine in secret so that they could start stockpiling iron of their own.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Davon is in charge of that operation. And Davon, he reports to Realtar, who is one of the heads of the Iron Throne in the Sword Coast. And his son, his adopted son, is Saravok Anchev.
Yeah, that's right.
The reason why, and he has these little minions there, like he has Samaj, who's like a sorcerer, and he has Sinthandra, who's his number one lover, who's a sorceress, and he has Tomoko,
do you fight them all together, or do you fight them? I think you fight them all together, don't you?
Not Tomoko, because Tomoko, she's. This is how you know Saravok's right wing and probably libertarian, is because he's got an Asian girlfriend, and Tomoko, like she tells you not to kill Saravok because she loves him. But then you fight Sinthandra in the Iron Throne headquarters. But Samaj and Angelo is interesting because Angelo is part of the Flaming Fist, so he's basically a part of the police essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But he secretly works for Saravok. And so that when Duke Elton is poisoned and Scar, the second in command, is killed, he assumes command of the Flaming Fist mercenary group, who are the police in Baldur's Gate. And so it means that Saravok's man now controls the police, essentially. Is this starting to sound familiar to anyone now?
But this is what makes another part of what makes these games awesome, is that the world is so deep. There's there's politics and there's all this stuff in the background of the game. And if you pay attention to it, it's really quite complicated.
So if you look at the side, right at the top, it says Iron Throne leaders in Senbia. Now, the Iron Throne is from a nation called Senbia. And so they have sent Realtar and Brunos, who's this other guy, to carry out this conspiracy with the iron, okay? And the reason why some of these people are in that sort of cream color is because they're part of the conspiracy within the conspiracy.
That's right. Yeah, they're working for Saravok, right?
They're all working for Saravok. That's why Tazok has the line going back to Saravok, because even though Tazok reports to Davon, I should have put on between Davon and Saravok, because Davon is probably in on that Saravok's conspiracy as well. Yeah. And what Saravok wants to do is he wants to use this Iron Throne conspiracy for his own conspiracy to create a big war where a ton of people will die. And then he will get to ascend to be the new Lord of Murder, because much like yourself, he's a child of Baal, who is the Lord of Murder. And so he wants to become a god, and this is his plan.
Yes, exactly. So he's using this as he's almost like a kind of Darth Vader figure, I guess, using maybe not Vader, but you know what I mean?
Palpatine, he's kind of almost like a Palpatine.
Almost like a Palpatine within this, using this kind of organized crime power structure to, for his own selfish ends.
The Iron Throne are a legitimate business, operation. But the thing is that they will use underhand illegal methods in order to.
All right, they've gone straight. They
are. If they've got their own building and their own headquarters in Baldur's Gate, so they are a legit trading operation. They're completely legitimate, but they will use underhand methods in order to essentially manipulate the prices of commodities.
That's one of my favorite bits of the game, actually, when you basically get into the Iron Throne headquarters and stuff, and they've got all those Weasley accountants. I like that part of the game. In fact,
I should point out that quite close to the end of the game, you kill, you can kill, or they're murdered Bruno's Realtar, and that is done so that Saravok, because he's the next in command, he can then take command of the Iron Throne operation in Baldur's Gate and enact his plan. And then there's a moment where he gets made one of the Grand Dukes of Baldur's Gate, because he's like, guess what, guys? I've got all this iron that we can use ready for this war. And there's a moment where the headquarters, like the actual leadership of the organization, that the main organization in Sembia, who you never meet, you don't know what they're called. They just send this guy to find out what the fuck's been going on because they have no idea what's been going on, and they're just like, "What the hell is going on here? Like, what? Saravok's not supposed to be in charge. Why is he the Duke of Baldur's Gate? What the fuck's going on? This wasn't the plan."
Yes, it is very good, very, very good. In fact, I mean, I do think that because Baldur's Gate 2 is so good, in a strange way, Baldur's Gate 1 gets kind of underrated, and because it's fucking tough at the start when you're level 1, level 2. It's a bit grindy at the start. Would you agree with that? It kind of takes a while for your party to get going.
It is. The main story of Baldur's Gate is very good, but in a lot of other areas, it's inferior to Baldur's Gate 2, so that's why it gets overlooked, which I can understand.
But I would argue, arguably, its story is more complex and more kind of like, there's much more of a detective element going on here.
Yes, yes.
Which is kind of cool when you piece it all together. The other thing I was going to say very, very quickly, just a kind of little, I love it when Tazok turns up working for that editor.
Firecracker Dragon, yeah.
After the events of this game, he goes to seek service, and now he's like a kind of bodyguard for a dragon.
Yes, he's just like, you thought you killed me, bitch. Well, guess what? I'm back.
So I just love it. He's not like a boss; he's just like an incidental bodyguard in that.
Yeah, Tazok is the ultimate minion, really, in a lot of these games. He's never going to ascend to like the true leadership position, but he just likes killing people, so he's a really reliable minion. Yeah.
So a couple of other things I was going to mention. Part of the experience of there's a lot more like wilderness in Baldur's Gate 1. Saying there's a lot more because you very much start like in the countryside, and I would say the experience of actually, because even though the game's called Baldur's Gate, you don't actually get to Baldur's Gate until pretty late in the game. The actual city.
You turn up to the bridge and the flaming fist, like, we can't let you in. Sorry.
Yeah. When you actually get to the city, the experience of like getting to the huge city is something, because the city really feels like a big city compared to like all these little villages and things you've been going through today. And I think that feeling of the place being, and again, I try to think of other RPGs that do it, and I can only really think of maybe Morrowind. It's got that feeling of like this.
You need to play, or Morcar need to play Witcher 3 at some point, because the exact same thing happens when you get to Novigrad in that game, because Novigrad is probably the biggest city I've seen in an RPG, at least in terms of a proper fully 3D RPG, excluding maybe MMOs that have got low poly graphics. But when you look at like the quality of the graphics, the city is huge. It is massive, Novigrad. And before that, you've just been in these shitty villages and like a small castle, and that's it. And then you go into Novigrad, and it's immense and it's huge.
Yeah, well, okay, so yeah, maybe Witcher 3 does it as well, but I can't think of many times where it really, you really feel that I mean, Baldur's Gate 2, of course, you start in that big city, don't you? So it's kind of a bit different, the experience of that. Yes, yeah. Okay. Anything else with Baldur's Gate 1 apart from the NPCs, which we're about to get to, that you can think of?
No, I just like the fact that the first time you play it, if you're going in completely blind, there's a good chance it will be an unmitigated disaster and you'll really struggle. And there's just certain areas where you will die pretty quickly. Someone in the chat brought up the basilisk nest, which you can encounter really early on if you don't know what you're doing, and you get like a party wipe pretty much. Like, you all get turned to stone and die, which I like. And the wilderness, I love just the size of the map and being able to just go to all these random areas and just like find these weird quests and stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. When I will admit, when I play the game these days, I use Shadowkeeper to get a big stack of scrolls of contingency, and I just cast contingency because I can't stand black on the map. So I just cast contingency.
I see that you and Morcar are brothers in the cheese. I see this.
So yeah, shall we get on to some of the NPCs of Baldur's Gate 1 then? I mean, I used to say that Baldur's Gate 2 is so good that you have to earn the right to play it by playing it through Baldur's Gate 1.
Yes, you need to work your way to the delights of the plate by playing Baldur's Gate, and then you get to Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gives a lot more context.
Unlike kind of vegetables and Brussels sprouts or whatever, Baldur's Gate 1 in itself is kind of quite it's not actually
Baldur's
that
Gate
hard.
1 is like the triple cooked chips to your Baldur's Gate 2's fish and chips, like be a bad fish. It's just like, and the chips are great, they're really nice, but then there's this really nice fish as well. So it's just, it's good all round.
So you sent me this Dropbox of all of the NPCs. I think we'll get through these fairly quick. What we're going to rank them or talk about each of them? Or
I mean, we can have a quick talk about them. In Baldur's Gate 1, there's a lot of companions you can recruit, like a lot. But that's because they don't really have that much depth, a lot of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is another knight, isn't he? He's like a member of the Order, isn't he?
Ajantis. Yeah, he's is he a Radiant Heart Knight or is he just some random? He's a paladin.
I think he is a member because I'm pretty sure I remember somebody made a mod which brings him into Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah, here we go. I'm just checking on the wiki. He is a Radiant Heart Paladin, and in the lore, he's actually Keldorn's squire, even though you never meet Keldorn in the first one. You don't meet him until the second one. So
somebody made a mod where you can take him into BG2, and then you can literally have you could have the all Radiant Heart party. If you took Animan, Keldorn,
such a twat.
Animan is he was in my first party. I seem to remember.
Knob.
He is a knob, yeah. But anyway, you could take Animan, Keldorn, him. You could make your own character one. And I'm trying to think. Is there any other knights? Well, anyway, you could. Maybe there's another knight somewhere.
Probably another one.
Yeah. Or you'd need a thief. Maybe you
could take Minsk. He's kind of knighty a little bit. He's a good lad.
You'd probably need a thief, so you'd probably take your sister, like Imoen. Anyway, so that's him. He's kind of a bit.
He's got good stats.
He's got 17 strength or something like that.
Yeah, he's got 17 strength and 16 con, so he's pretty good.
He's a tough fighter. I mean, I would like my fighters to have 18/00 or something like that. But
he's also got 17 charisma, which is good for paladins because their charisma is their spellcasting stat, I believe.
But he's a bit bland, this guy, isn't he? Don't know.
He's lawful good, and so that kind of tells you all you need to know, really. He's a bit dull.
So then I'm only going to mention we won't actually do tiers. We'll just say
we should. The Baldur's Gate 1 ones we should just brush through.
Brush through them. Yeah.
The Baldur's Gate 2 ones an argument could be made for tiers for those ones, but 1 there's no point really.
Yeah, I mean, is she a thief? This one?
Yeah, I've never taken her in my party. It's Laura. She's a halfling thief. I don't really know. I think you meet her in the Hall of Wonders. That gnomish museum.
Yeah. Why are there so many random female thieves in Baldur's Gate 1? There's so many of them. I don't think I've never taken her either.
It's kind of a bit of a cliche in D&D that female characters are thieves. I don't know why that is. Make your own mind up on that one, chat. Continue.
So this is Alora. No, isn't this Minsk's witch?
No. That's not Minsk. You're thinking of Dinah Hare. This is Branwen.
Yeah. Branwen, that's all right. Okay, yeah. What's her deal? She's a
cleric. She's a cleric. I think she's from one of those. I can't remember what the islands are called. Off the coast, where they're all kind of a bit Viking-y and warrior-y. She's neutral. You find her petrified in stone at the carnival.
Oh, yeah, that's her, yeah.
She's a good cleric if you're in a good party and you want a designated healer. She's kind of a very good go-to healer. You
see, this is the difficult thing, though, right? Because I'm prone to a bit of power gaming times.
Really? This does not surprise me.
I kind of gravitate towards the evil party because the evil characters are so much better than these dweebs.
I mean, you naturally gravitate towards the evil party. Yeah, that's why you and Morcar are friends.
There are kind of weird incentives in this game to take, if you're going to have a female cleric, it's going to have to be Vicky, isn't it?
I mean, Vicky is best girl, so
I mean, she's amazing. Yeah. Like, doesn't she have like 18 wisdom, or like, and you take her to that machine and she can have 19 or even up to like 20 wisdom by the end of the game?
I wasn't talking about her stats. She's just best girl in general, but yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, I don't know about the stats, of course. Anyway, let's carry on. This is Corran, is it?
Yeah, he's as much as a knobhead as he looks. He's an elf.
Is he another thief?
Yeah, fighter thief, I believe.
So many thieves.
Yeah,
and then in BG2, there's like a real dearth of thieves.
I know there's hardly there isn't an evil thief.
I had a theory that BG2 was designed for your character to be a thief, because there's so many because there's the shadow thieves, and thieves are so much part of the plot. This kind of is almost set up. They even like duel in Imoen like before the game starts. So
yeah, I kind of feel like the whole reason why there's so few thieves, in fact there isn't a designated thief in that game, they're all thief/mages, I believe, into some sort of way, is so that you'll take Imoen. Basically, they want you to take Imoen when you get her back. They want you to use Imoen.
Yeah, the game is really I always feel a bit bad, but in my last playthrough, I literally she wasn't in my BG1 party, wasn't in my BG2 party, so it's constantly just just wait here. See you in about.
That's exactly what I did in my.
See you in about 60 hours. Oh, Imoen, you're back. Yeah, fuck off again. Oh, we have to say, all right, bye. It was all the way through. It's just like the game is gagging for you to have her in your party, and you're like, no, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this vampire Bane character they've forced on me instead. So.
It's like they give you Yoshimo as well at the beginning, and then they deliberately kill him just before Imoen turns up, so that you can take Imoen. But if you haven't taken Yoshimo that far, then you're just like, fuck off, Imoen, sorry.
Oh, do you know, that first run through, I was so fucking pissed about what happens to Yoshimo, because I'd invested in it. And I'm like, and I didn't know it was going to happen. I was like, for fuck's sake, what? And, because you could carry his heart around, and you thought, all right, I'm going to get him back, and no, still. And it's like, oh, what am I going to do for a thief now? And it's just like literally, like all you have to do is like stick a ring on Imoen and like use her level 7 thief stats for the rest of the game. Basically.
Yep.
But anyway, let's carry on. Safana, is it?
Dynahair, that's Mint's.
Okay, that's
Switch.
Okay.
This is some very early representation of the.
That's Mint's Switch.
Yeah, that's Dynahair. Yeah.
I always kill her. Because I have Edwin. Because I love Edwin and I can't not take him, and Edwin wants to kill her. So, I mean, I did have one party where I had Minsk and Edwin, which is obviously impossible, right?
Well, they don't. Well, they hate each other. Yeah.
Well, they try to kill each other, right? And I think I had to use like some cheese where you have to like lock Minsk in a room while you kill her, and then like somehow get him back. And then there was a way to do it where they didn't leave. And like I think these days you just stick a kind of harmony mod on so they don't fight or whatever.
Just more mod cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a way of having them both. Because I mean, that's the other thing, you have reputation within the game. And if you do too much evil stuff, the good characters will just be like, "Fuck this, I'm going."
But if you do too much good stuff, the evil characters will leave as well.
If you do too much heroic stuff, the evil characters will be like, "I didn't sign up for this. What's going on?"
You're too nice. Edwin basically goes, "This is game cringe," and leaves essentially because he's just like he's not having it. He wants to be evil, because he's Edwin.
It's just like, why are we saving old women all the time? Fuck this. Anyway, let's carry on. There's my boy.
There's your boy. There he is.
Now, this guy is, if there was ever a character who was OP within a game, I mean, he's got a special amulet that literally doubles his spells per level, which makes him an absolute powerhouse. I mean, despite the fact that I love his character, I find him impossible to leave out because he's so integral to my plans, Time Stealer.
Does this have anything to do with the fact that, particularly in this game, the portrait looks a bit like you, how you look in real life? Is that anything to do with it? Is that
I mean, I would love to knock around in a hood like that. But I mean, he is. I love him. I just love him. I mean, he's always calling people monkeys, isn't he? He's always like kind of muttering under his breath. And,
the voice acting is 10 out of 10.
His voice acting. I mean, when you click on him, he's kind of grouchy, and I feel like a lot of games again have stolen that idea, but he's just like, get off.
Minion. He's minion. He doesn't naturally gravitate towards being a minion, and yet he always finds himself in the position of being a minion. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Because he ends up in Baldur's Gate 2, like working for some like low level shadow thief boss or whatever.
Yeah,
how did I end up here? Type thing. But he's always disgruntled. So if you click on him, he's like, "Well, what do you want now?" And you tell him to go over there. He's like, if I must, So he's permanently disgruntled. But boy, can he dish out those magic missiles. I mean,
he's pure just damage, isn't he? He's a DPS guy. He's basically Morcar in Baldur's Gate. He's pure damage focused.
I mean, I think he's a conjurer, and literally, like the way D&D works, you take a spell school and it blanks out another school. So I think
which means you can't use identify scrolls with him because it's from the opposite school. It's really annoying.
But that school that white school, was it Divinity or whatever? What's that school called? Divination. And that's the gayest school ever, anyway.
Of course it is. It's basically useless. Like it's the problem. This is one of the weaknesses of the games: is that a lot of the stuff that's useful in the pen and paper game doesn't always translate as well to being useful in a video game.
No alignment. Who gives a shit? Fireball. Anyway,
exactly.
But anyway, at some point you just stick a pile of death spells on him, and he can take most battles before you even draw a sword. But anyway, that's less about me, the better. So shall we carry on?
Yes, let's continue.
Yeah, who's this? Is this Garrick? Is it? Who's this?
No, that's Eldof. He's a bard.
Eldof.
He's a bard.
Yeah, he's a bard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a bard, doesn't he? He's got his little lute as well there, his mandolin.
He looks like a guy who might annoyingly pull out a guitar at a party.
He basically is. Yeah, he's just a classic musician. He is like the archetypal sort of jobbing musician who's a ladies' man and yet has no money, essentially. Like that's what he is.
Yeah, so there's that. Is this Corrin?
No, this is Faldorn. We did Corrin before. This is Faldorn.
Oh, sorry. Faldorn.
She's a druid. She's druid.
She's the druid. Sorry, I got her mixed up with the witch earlier. Yeah. Do you ever take her? I think I've had her in the party a few times.
Druids suck. I don't like druids. They're just shy. Like take a cleric instead.
You can in BG2 have kind of like a gay naturey party where you take what's his name, CERN,
the Native American kind of dude. Yeah, CERN.
And what's her name?
Jaheira.
Jaheira, and you could be one yourself. And doesn't she turn up as like the boss of the druid thing in the next game?
Yes.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
Yeah. Later in the next game,
yeah, deservedly so.
Exactly.
Okay, and then this is
Garrick.
Is he? This is Garrick, right?
Yeah.
He's a bard, isn't he?
Yes, he's a bard. In Beregost, you get him early on. He's a bit naff, really. Bards are tricky. They're weird. Bards are weird because they're like a jack of all trades, master of none type class. So
but if you really want to use them, you have to just like play the harp and like stand in the back, like just a walking buff, basically. Yes. I've never really I think my first ever playthrough I was a bard, and I actually think I had this as my portrait as well, to make matters more confusing, as my back in 2000 or whenever. They're a bit shit. Because they can do pickpocket, but they don't have actually proper thief skills. So pickpocket is useless, isn't it? So
well, it has a few quests where it's useful, but for the most part, it is kind of naff compared to opening locks and disarming traps and stuff. So
I mean, the other thing they bards are good for is they're like a walking identify spell as well.
Well, that too, yeah, because they have very high lore. So
yeah, they have huge lore, so you just stick because when you pick up weapons in the game, they need to be identified. They're kind of blued. They kind of like have a blue film on them, don't they?
Yes.
Until you identify them. If you stuck it in his inventory, he'd be able to tell what it is. So
exactly.
Yeah, and then is this? I forget all in it. Is this Imoen?
How can you forget this character's name?
Because I mean, so used to the other bloody.
You only play the evil characters, don't you? Yeah.
No. Her portrait. I'm used to the other one
in Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah, she's lost a lot of weight between the games.
Yeah, she's kind of she's got a bit of a Carrie Fisher vibe going on there in this one.
She's got kind of puppy fat in this version.
She kind of loses it all between the first one and the second one. Yeah,
but I mean, spoilers, everyone. This is your sister, and you're kind of meant to have her in the party. She's got a lot to say. I mean, I've always found her a bit chipper and annoying. She's so like jolly, isn't she?
Yeah, but then she gets blackpilled in the second game, so it's okay. Irenicus takes her to the Spellhold, and she gets put in a cell with Turnip and Charlemagne, and she gets really blackpilled.
Yeah, no, she's a good character though. She's got like a very, and she's she brings you back a lot as well, because your character goes on quite a dark journey. She's like your kind of human, especially in the second game. She's often like your human touchstone. And I would say that if you first time through the game, you should take Imoen with you, I would say, as part of the experience.
Oh, you should do. Yeah, you really should.
Once it's your fifth time and you're just power gaming for shits and giggles, you can dump her, but
she's kind of like she's a child of Baal as well, like you said, so she's your half sister. She's kind of a good character for your character to bounce off when it comes to the stuff around the Baal, the child of Baal, because the whole Baal spawn thing isn't really a big deal in the first game.
No,
but in the second game, it's basically the whole point of the game, pretty much. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, we should have mentioned this as well. There are key points, there are key inflection points in the game where there are vital decisions to make, and depending on who's in your party, they will all pipe up and they'll have an opinion on what you should do, and they'll try to help you make the decision. And I mean, usually it will be like Imoen. She'll generally give like kind of you want to be careful here, or you think of Candlekeep or whatever. Whereas if it's like Edwin or Corgan, they'll be like, just fucking kill him and let's get out of here. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff. So anyway, let's carry on. People are. I mean, she's not that big boober, I don't think, is she?
Well, I mean, she won't be a very good thief if she's really big boober, but Yeah.
Now, who's this?
That's Jaheira.
She changes a hell of a lot between the games.
For some reason, the person who did the portraits for the second one had this sort of obsession with like having hair as the character's hair in what did they call
braids,
it? Like braids and stuff. Yeah, and it made everyone look kind of odd. But yeah, that's Jaheira. She's a half elf fighter / druid.
Now, I would say that Jaheira's personality is kind of like Butch Dom.
Oh yeah, she's
very like
she's got quite a lot of mommy energy. She's quite dominant. Yeah, she basically dominates her husband, who's this very mild mannered, stuttering guy called Khalid, who's just really polite and mild-mannered.
I mean, I know I'm a bit heartless, but like when he dies and stuff, I'm like, good fucking simp.
He is a bit of a simp, yeah.
But I mean, we're giving a lot of. We're playing this we're talking in a very spoilery way here. But,
if you haven't played the game by now, then that's your fucking problem.
You don't deserve to play it. Yeah. She has got a lot of big mommy energy, as you said. But
yes,
she's another character though who I kind of get the impression that in the official canon, she's meant to be in your party as well. She's like a very good.
Especially for the second game, she's kind of like the character that you really she's a bit of a moral compass for you because she's neutral. She's true neutral, being a druid, and she in the second game, it's like her side quest is huge as well, and it kind of links into other stuff.
No, so. I hate to. Have you ever gone in and just fucked up the Harpers?
Oh yeah. When I'm playing an evil party, I just get my boy Edwin, who I've got from the Shadow Thief building just up the road, and we just go get Vicky and just wreck everything. Yeah, and Kage, whatever his name.
But
is.
I mean, there's a lot of intrigue around that because they're a secret society, and there's a whole there's so much cool stuff. But anyway, we'll get on to that.
The Harpers are a secret society that wage war against other secret societies. Yeah.
There's so many in fact. Most of the economy of that city in Baldur's Gate 2 is just secret societies vying with each other.
All of the major buildings are occupied by either thieves or secret societies.
It's just like there are
Especially if you consider the government to be thieves, then
the only actual legitimate business in the whole city is that like guy selling fish outside the. It's like every single. Even that bloody pub is like a front for something, isn't it?
A lot of the pubs are actually fronts for various things, and there's like pirates hiding behind the wall, and there's just like all sorts of stuff going on.
There are no legit businesses. Even the pub you start out in, that Copper Cormorant, is
Copper Coronet. They've got a slavery operation. I think they're going to brothel.
It's a secret slavery ring. Anyway, we'll carry on. I know we're talking about the second game here, but some of these characters, she makes it all the way through. So, this guy is he the cleric?
No, he's Kagane. He's a dwarf. He's evil. He's a fighter. He's got 20 constitution, so he's very good for being a tank in an evil party.
Oh, I actually took him in my last.
Yes,
because I had to. I had like a spare slot where I didn't quite have enough evil characters to make it up, and he was like the kind of in that. And then in the next bit, I replaced him with that kind of like sorcerer drow character that the Beamdog put in there.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I mean, that was
I
insane.
haven't included the Beamdog characters in this because they're kind of, we're going on classic Baldur's Gate.
I mean, you only have him for a little spell, but I had my own character was a sorcerer. I had Edwin, and I had him. They were just that's like three pretty high level mages at that point in one party. But anyway, he's not bad. He's kind of a tank, isn't he?
He's very tanky because he's a dwarf, isn't he? He's got 20 con, so that's very
20
good.
constitution, yeah.
He's
kind of a surly, grumpy bastard, this guy.
Well, he's a dwarf, so what do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. But I would say, though, if we're going to be honest, Corgan is a better surly dwarf.
Yes, Corgan is better. Well, most of the Baldur's Gate 2 NPCs are better, but, Corgan's excellent.
I'm trying to think of any like actual legitimate business in that city.
There's some markets in like the that very, very starting area. There's some stalls and stuff that actually sell, like there's blacksmiths who just sell.
That guy shop Rybald.
Oh, Rybald. I love Rybald.
Yeah, but even Rybald's got like a secret stash that you have to pay to get into.
Rybald Barterman at your service.
50 GP for the secret stash.
Also,
Rybald.
you're forgetting that Rybald actually does sort of backhanded deals with the Harpers as well, so he's basically in on it as well.
Harper, yeah. Maybe that merchant that you buy the materials for the artist from is legit. Maybe, I don't know.
Possibly. Oh, the one. No, they aren't legit either. The ore merchant, because they were doing dodgy deals with like that with Corgan, weren't they, or something? So they were dodgy as well.
There's literally nobody who's legit in the whole city. Okay, we'll carry on. Okay. This
Khalid,
is Jaheira's husband, Khalid, right? I think there's a mod that brings him back as well, if you want him.
Which is immoral, because he should stay dead.
Yeah, he should be dead.
Right? He's a beta and a simp.
He is a pathetic, bullied husband.
Yes,
he's
is.
like
he
kind
really
of like, remember that Hyacinth Bouquet, like absolutely dominates.
Yeah,
it's like a kind of
exactly. And yet, paradoxically, he's a fighter. So
I know, but he's like
he should be high test, and yet he's just like he stutters. He literally has a stutter, and
he's cowardly.
Yeah.
Kind of always scared.
He's like the original sort of emasculated soy boy character, really, I suppose.
There's no doubt that Jaheira kind of pegs him, basically.
There's no doubt. Jaheira probably just like fucks other men on the side. I mean, she if you romance her in the second one, she jumps into bed with you fairly quickly. So, you know,
that's true. That's true. Kivan, is it?
Kivan, yeah, he's the Elf Ranger. Chaotic good, 17 dexterity. He's got really high strength as well, actually, for a ranger. So he's pretty good, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, no, if he can rip through a lot of stuff with that bow.
Yes.
Kivan. I mean, I would say the bows are quite good in the game. If you ever,
well, I think Morcar would enjoy especially the first Baldur's Gate, because the bow cheese is real in the first Baldur's Gate. You can just bow cheese your way through that game pretty heavily. Or just ranged cheese in general, like crossbows and slings and spells and darts and throwing. There's a lot of range weapons that are very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally a good idea to stick range weapons on 2 or 3 characters, and then have like 3. I always have my party where there are 3 who hold back, and then 3 tanks, or 3. I mean, it's usually like 2 pure tanks and maybe like a cleric who also fights on the front line as well. But you like, I stick that girdle on Vicky most of the time. You know, that girdle of ogre strength or whatever it is.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Should give you the flail of ages. Or anyway, let's carry on. There's Minsk with his hamster.
There's your boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, we were talking about the official party. I feel like the official party is yourself, Imoen, Jaheira, Khalid, and I'm pretty sure that it's implied by the start of BG2 that you're meant to have Minsk in the party as well.
And Dynahair as well, because he mentions her being killed by Irenicus's minions at the start of Baldur's Gate 2. So that's the official party pretty much.
And of course, Minsk wouldn't stay unless you save that witch anyway, would he?
Exactly. Yeah, Minsk did absolutely nothing wrong. He's a good boy, and he is the most wholesome character in the entire game, pretty much. So
yeah, he's very now. Kind of a weird thing with him is that he's a ranger, but he's a tank. He's not like
he's a ranger, but he's like a berserker as well. And so no one. There is a point where he explains why he's a ranger, and it's basically because he has his pet hamster, and that's like his animal companion. And he's sort of chosen. You know, rangers get like a chosen nemesis type. Yeah, you get a bonus against them. His is undead. It's vampires, I think, specifically. And when you ask him, when someone can ask him why, and he says it's because he strongly believes that when things die, they should stay dead. Essentially, that's why those vampires are his chosen enemy type.
He's kind of like he's very lovable, kind of like he's kind of comedic, but he's also like classic kind of big-hearted, tanky character, I guess.
Yes, he's excellent.
And then
look at this dysgenic mutant here.
Gonna have to remind me of some of these BG1 characters.
Montaron.
Yeah, no, he is the sidekick of the other, like the necromancer, isn't he?
Yeah, they're both in the Zentarium, aren't they? Is Zar? Is it XR?
Zar and Montaron. Yeah, I mean, this is the weird thing. There's a lot of characters in BG1, but you have to take them as a pair. So, like, you can't get Montaron unless you take Zar as well. Not Zar, the other one.
It is Zar.
It's Zar. Yeah, Zar. Yeah, I always get confused between them. There's him and there's
Zan as well. Who's
there's the one with the kind of elfy sword.
Yes, that's Zan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have to take them together, and these two crop up in BG2 as well.
That's all to do with the wrecking the Harpers joint and everything, because they're having like a little another sort of secret society war between the Zentarium and the Harpers, contributing to the shadow economy of cattle.
They kind of, it's kind of, I mean, obviously I've had these in the party before, those two. Yeah. And like, he's a decent thief, and he can even, like, you know, wield a bow and so on. But I always think that Zar is kind of understated for a mage. Like, he's only got like 16 intelligence or something. Check his intelligence. Or is it
17? It says 17.
Yeah. I mean, I always get bugged when you don't have the full 18 in a, I don't like it when it's. I want it to be more like Edwin.
I mean, there's some other notable issues with Tsar, but we'll get onto those when we get to his.
Yeah, okay, we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
This is Quail.
Quail. He's a bit of a meme character, Quail, to be honest. I feel like all the gnomes in this game are kind of just memey characters. He's very strange. He's just I never take him because it just feels weird. Like it just feels weird taking him. It's just very odd. I don't really know much about him other than
he crops up in the circus, doesn't he? Later on,
yeah, he's Ares' sort of foster father kind of figure in the circus. Yeah,
I don't really like gnomes.
I don't like gnomes; they're dysgenic. Although Jan Jansen is very turnip pilled. Jan
Jansen's pretty much the only thief you get, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
You end up like taking him at default sometimes with his little gadgets. Anyway,
there's a reason why there's quite a lot of thief mods for Baldur's Gate 2, like mod characters.
Now, this is yet another thief. Is it Safana?
Yes, Safana. She's a bit of a slag.
She is a slag, yeah.
Yeah, chaotic neutral slag. She's a thief. She's just your basic bitch thief. She's got good dexterity. 17 dexterity. She's just an absolute slag, really. But what can you do?
Do you know what's weird about that beam dog kind of in-betweeny thing?
Yeah.
Some characters. Have you ever played that? Have you ever?
I refuse to play it.
It's not bad. It's not that bad, to be honest. I mean, it's not like. I don't know if there was complaints about SJWism.
There was some big complaints about the SJWism.
I didn't really notice anything, to be honest.
Isn't one of the characters trans in that game?
I don't remember that.
Apparently they were. That's what I heard.
Anyway, I didn't really notice anything when I played it fairly recently. But one of the weird things is that some characters won't go with you. Basically, like I think Safana will, but I can't. Like half of the characters, like that dwarf that we were talking about, he's like, no, that's it. My part in this story is done. I am not coming. And it's kind of like it's a bit strange that.
I'm looking at it. Not that many of the original companions will go with you for that expansion. Actually, there's only like Dinaher, Edwin, Jaheira, Khalid, Minsk, Safana, and Vicky, and they're the only ones.
I ended up having to take her because she was one of the only people who'd come. It's kind of like it's very.
You get some new companions though, don't you? So.
Well, I had that. I had that kind of mage, that sorcerer guy. They give you the drow, who runs the black pits. Yeah, I mean, it's worth doing once. It's not.
Maybe
terrible,
I should give it a go then. Yeah, I'll give it a go. Maybe.
Anyway, let's carry on. This is the big fighter woman. I forget her name now.
Shartil. She's a man-hating feminist. She's literally a man-hating feminist.
But she's evil, right?
Oh, she's chaotic evil, like all feminists.
It's an absolute bitch, yeah.
Yeah,
but she's
really
not bad.
is.
Not bad character.
She's an interesting character. She's got good stats. She's really strong. She's fucking irritating because she's just,
She can give her a big two-handed sword. Although I must be honest, I kind of like having male frontline fighters. Most of my parties.
Yeah.
So let's carry on. There's not much else to say about her, is there? She's kind of
another thief.
Another bloody thief. Remind me, what's her name?
Sky Silver Shield. Her father is Entar Silver Shield, who's one of the Dukes of Baldur's Gate.
Oh yes, she's like the kind of prototype Nalia, kind of spoiled.
Yes,
spoiled girl who wants to go on an adventure for a lark thing. Yeah, she's alright, I guess.
You get her very late in the game, so no one really.
Kind of a bit I can't really think of any reason to take her ever, to be honest. But
me neither.
And then is this another gnome?
Yeah.
Who's he then?
It's Tiax. He's a bit of a meme character as well.
Oh yeah, no, he's the one who ends up in the asylum.
Yeah, he's basically criminally insane. He's just
He's kind of got like megalomaniac tendencies.
Yeah, he's very interesting character. Yeah,
he's funny though. Funny.
Yeah, very amusing. That's like I said, it's like a meme character.
Yeah. See, the thing is though, is that BG1 is such a thing where it's almost like you can take characters along for like a bit of the journey type thing.
Yes, I do wonder sometimes if that's what you're supposed to do. Actually,
yeah, I get the impression like I mean, when I played it before, I took like Monteron and Tsar through to the Nashville mines, but then like I dumped them for like because Edwin's down there, isn't he?
Yes.
So you do the mines and then you like you can get Edwin in and like you can mix and match a little bit as well, where you don't have to take this one party through everything.
Did you ever do the thing where you had like a pair of characters, but you only wanted one of the characters, so you just had the other character killed off? So you just
leave them die. Yeah. I think I did that to Tsar once.
Yeah,
where I wanted Monteron, but didn't have space for another mage, basically. So yeah, just offed him. Yeah, they kind of love each other, those two, don't they?
Monteron, they do. It's a bit weird. There's
It's a bit of subtext there, maybe.
Yes, there is, amongst other subtexts. Yeah.
Let's carry on then. So
here she is.
This is Vicky, right?
This is Vicky. Her portrait in the first game's rubbish, but yeah,
she doesn't really look like that, does she? In the
no,
game?
She doesn't look anything like that in the second game. I don't know. Yeah, she doesn't even look like a drow in that. She just looks like an elf. She doesn't look dark elf at all. But
she's an amazing character.
Yes.
I find it very hard not to take her and Edwin in every party. Basically,
yeah, she's kind of a must-take character. Really, she's just. But I mean, if you're in an evil party, she's your only cleric, pretty much. So,
yeah, I think there's a way to turn her, isn't there, to the good side? Or
yeah, in the second game, you can make her go from neutral evil to like true neutral or something. Like you can't turn her good, but you can make her go neutral rather than neutral evil. So.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
She also hates men, but in a less aggravating way than Chartil. She's a bit more kind of makes sense about it. She doesn't so much hate men. She likes men. She just thinks women are better than men. She's like the reverse John B.
Well, you've got to understand though. She comes from a matriarchal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, she comes from a matriarchal
society, doesn't she?
Exactly.
The drow are female led, and it's kind of funny when you romance her and things. She's like, right, are you gonna, let me shag you now or what? Yeah. She's kind of like
it's like a man getting the bedchamber.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think I do like. She's one of the characters I like the most. I mean, to me, she's an S tier along with with Edwin and maybe Minsk. Anyone else that we've seen on the S? I mean, we couldn't just pick all of the BG2. We'll do it when we get to BG2.
When we do BG2, we'll get down to the tier ranking with BG2.
Yeah, so this is Zan, right? This is Zan or Tsar?
It's Zan.
Yeah, this is Zan, the one with a little moon sword, right?
Yes.
Now, he's a kind of dark emo type character.
He's very broody, isn't he? He broods a lot.
But he's depressed, let's face it.
He's edgy. Yeah, he's literally depressed. His voice actor, they basically said this guy's depressed. And he read the lines out in a depressed voice. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a necromancer as well, so.
Is he a necromancer?
He's
an enchanter. No, Tsar's a necromancer. He's an enchanter.
He's an enchanter, and Tsar is the necromancer. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just about make an all-mage party, couldn't you? With Monteron.
Yeah,
if you made your own character mage, you could take Edwin, him, Tsar. That'd be 4. Monteron, and I don't know, dual Imoen or something.
When you meet him, Mullahay, the minion, has got him all chained up in his little dungeon area. So I don't.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What they're up to, but that's how you meet Zan.
That's right. Yeah. And then this is
look at this spiteful mutant.
This is our kind of Joker. Joker builds are.
Yeah, he's very Joker pilled. I mean, he's basically trans as well. Let's be honest. So,
is he?
Well, he kind of is. He's quite effeminate. I always found. I always found him to be quite effeminate. You know.
Yeah, and he does
also
have
mental.
He's got a married couple vibe with Monteron, despite
Yes.
being mental. Yeah, and
Yes.
then who's the last character?
Yes.
This is the cleric dwarf.
Yes.
Brannigan. What's his name? Brannigan.
Yeslick.
Oh, sorry, Yeslick. That's it. Yeslick.
You meet him in that mine with the Iron Throne reactivated, so they could stockpile the iron.
It's late in the game, that isn't it?
It's not as late as you meet like Sky and Tiax, because you meet them in Baldur's Gate, whereas this guy's like halfway through, maybe.
Yeah.
Like
I've had him. I think I've had him in the party before as well. This guy. But you see, this is the thing. You can probably tell by the way we're talking about them that a lot of these characters are kind of forgettable. Not just because they're not in the second game, but also like they just don't have much to say or anything. Like they're just kind of there.
Yeah, a lot of the characters in the first game don't even have their own quest. Really, they're just kind of there. And so they're a bit meh, a lot of them, really.
To fill out specific roles, functions, and so on. Yeah.
Whereas in the second one, like I said, there's fewer companions, but they're a lot more fleshed out in the second one.
So shall we get on to those ones in the interest of time?
Yes.
So right, here we go then. We should talk a little bit about, before we even get to these characters, the story of Baldur's Gate 2. Shall we do a bit of that? What would you say, story-wise? Maybe I can get Irenicus at the start. Shall we do that? Let's get
Irenicus is just he's a very interesting character, and he's very well voiced.
Let me just have a look. Baldur's Gate 2 Irenicus. I'll just get a bit of Irenicus at the start. Because I love his opening dialogue where he's just like kind of, they act sooner than we had anticipated. Here we go. John Irenicus cutscene collection. This'll do us. We'll just watch a bit of Irenicus here to set the scene a bit for Baldur's Gate 2. So get ready. Look at that little kind of dubstep drop this guy put in there. Anyway, let's carry on.
Ah, the child of Baal has awoken. It is time for more experiments.
Come on, doesn't he have the coolest voice of all time, this guy?
David Warner's voice is 10 out of 10.
I mean, he's in Time Bandits, of course, Tron. He's actually in the Batman animated series cartoon as Ra's al Ghul as well.
He's in a lot of Star Trek episodes as well.
Very cool actor. But arguably his greatest role is John Irenicus.
The pain will only be passing. You should survive the process. Interesting.
This is something else I like about the game, by the way, that the cutscenes are within the game. They're not like, it very rarely tries to go to like, there is a few like video sequences and things, but most of the cutscenes are within game cutscenes. Because I often resent cutscenes, but it's kind of like, it's cool that it's within the mechanics of the game, at least. What do you think about that?
You do realize why that is, right?
Why is that then?
It's because the cutscenes were just so expensive to make. If you make them in like a 3D render CG thing, and they just
but that makes it better. I mean, it's better.
Yeah, I know.
The only game with cutscenes that I really enjoyed was Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 had the best cutscenes of all time, I would say. I mean, I'd be interested to see how they stand up now, because I remember the graphics like back then being mind-blowing for the Warcraft 3 cutscenes, but most of the time I hate cutscenes. So anyway, let's carry on.
Have much untapped power. Do you even realize your potential?
More intruders have entered the complex, Master.
They act sooner than we had anticipated. No matter, they will only prove a slight delay.
You just pause it for a second.
Go on.
Irenicus hates people so much, but he doesn't have actual people as his minions. He just has golems and things instead.
Awesome guy. So yeah. I mean, do you want to watch any more Irenicus?
I mean,
maybe watch him blasting those monk nerds at the start.
Yeah, oh, I love that bit.
Yeah, we'll watch this bit of badassery from him. Yeah, here we go.
You dare to attack me here? Do you even know who you face? You will suffer. You will all suffer. So, Godchild, you have escaped. You are more resourceful than I had thought.
You're not going to torture us any longer.
Do you know what I find a little bit funny? Is that I like when you're watching this happen, half your mind is thinking, "Oh, I wonder what that armor is."
You immediately start looting those bodies once the cutscene's over.
Oh, I wonder how much money they dropped there.
Torture? Silly girl, you just don't understand what I'm doing, do you?
I don't care what you're doing. Let us go.
That's Imoen. Kind of slightly whiny, isn't she?
Yeah.
I won't let you leave, not when I'm so close to unlocking your power.
We don't want anything from you.
Enough! I will no longer listen to the babbling of ignorant children.
Oh, here we go.
This is an unsanctioned use of magical energy.
I've got that spell, mate.
These are like basically midwits. Like you in the city, you need a spell license to cast magic in the open. Otherwise, these guys teleport in and literally say, "We got a license for your magic."
You haven't bought the license because it's a fucking pain in the ass if you're a magic character.
Yeah,
like...
I buy it because I don't want to have to deal with the fucking midwits.
Oh,
so
they're such a pain. You have to.
They are.
Isn't the license like 10 grand or something ridiculous?
Yeah, it is. It is.
But I mean, they will show up every single time in this manner if you try to cast a spell in the city.
It's incredibly annoying.
In this city, which has got no actual legit businesses. So anyway,
it's upset taxation and crime.
Shouldn't these guys check out? Like, hold on, there's an evil wizard literally living there. Like,
I also, this guy has had this massive sort of secret underground sewer layer right underneath the city, and they have no fucking idea until he pops up here.
I mean, they're a bit like the Jedi, who had like no idea that Palpatine's there. It's just like, what the fuck have you been doing, Mace Windu? But anyway,
all involved will be held. This disturbance is over.
Must I be interrupted at every turn? Enough of this.
I love the death animation, by the way.
And they just get a crit attack, explode into a shower of meat.
Is immense. We must overcome him quickly.
Enough. I haven't the time for this.
You will cease your spell casting and come with us.
Your pathetic magics are useless. Let this end.
Even if we fall, our numbers are many. You will be overwhelmed.
You bore me, mageling. You may take me in, but you will take the girl as well.
What? No. I've done nothing wrong.
You have been involved.
Go on, Imoen.
It's like this guy's literally being arrested by the magic police, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, you'll take me, but you're gonna fucking take her as well." It's like he's bargaining with the police.
You cast unlicensed magic missile, Imoen.
Right.
In illegal use of magic. You will come with us.
I'm not going with him. I'm not. Help me, please.
There you go.
It's
All
like,
right.
Irenicus is like an Austrian economist who got into a debate with a load of bread tubers, and they're just like, no matter how many of us you defeat, there's just a million more of us to get rid of. He's just he's quite based. He is fairly based.
So that is basically the setup for Baldur's Gate 2, where there's this uber powerful evil wizard, John Irenicus, who has captured you at the start of the game. I mean, you know what? You know when I said that Baldur's Gate 1 is, the kind of roughage that you have to eat to get to the delights of the plate.
Yes.
Times. Also, Irenicus' dungeon is that as well, because that's the other thing that some like younger players could get put off by if they just jumped straight into BG2, is that you actually have to get through the bloody dungeon at the start for the game to start.
Yeah, some people refer to it as Chateau Irenicus, because
and in fact it's one of those things where there's a mod to skip it.
There is a mod, but you must not install that mod. That is immoral and degenerate to install the mod that skips Irenicus's little house, because you've got to do that. It's just part of the game. You can't skip it.
Yeah.
Shameful.
So then basically they disappear and Imowen has been taken, and the quest is basically, one, who the fuck is this John Irenicus fellow and why did he kidnap you? And two, you need to save your sister, basically.
Well, you don't know she's your sister at that point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you need to save Imowen, who you don't actually know is your sister.
She's your childhood friend, basically.
Yeah, even though she's the only woman who won't shank you. Anyway.
Well, there is a mod for that as well, I believe. So.
Oh, God. What's it called? The Luke and Leia mod?
I don't know, but I gather there is a mod for it. So, yeah.
But basically, I mean, and this is one of my all-time favorite bits in any game, right? After you watch that little cutscene there, you're basically just like, right, what do we do now then? And there's this guy who approaches you and says, look, come over here. And then literally to advance the game, you have to earn 20,000 gold to pay off, one of these shadowy organizations.
The Shadow Thieves or the
vampires, right?
Vampires, yeah. So it's like criminals and more criminals. Yeah,
you can side with evil or more evil.
Yes. The Shadow Thieves are more neutral, really. They're lovable rogues. Like
no one crosses the Shadow Thieves.
No one crosses the Shadow Thieves and lives. You see one of my YouTube videos, he's just that for about 10 minutes.
The most powerful character in any of the games is that assassin who comes to kill you if you try to kill any Shadow Thief. You ever I forget his name now, like Arcanis Wrath or something.
Oh, Arcanis.
I mean, he literally, if you try to kill any of their guys before you're meant to, he will just come and nuke you, and there's no way to kill him. Basically, he can't even. If you know how to use the console, you can't even control Q him. I don't think he's just like absolutely indestructible. This guy, he's got a magic sword that will one shot you every time. But anyway, and basically it just goes right. That's it. Then you have to raise a pile of money on your way, and so. Even though you've been kind of forced on this little linear bit right at the start, the game then just massively opens up, and it's just like you can do any one of 8,000 side quests now if you want, and that's it. See you again, chapter 3, and then there's another little linear bit which you go through, and then you get back in chapter 6, and there's more stuff you can do. So I've always kind of liked that little bit that structure.
I like the opening part, especially where you're kind of just wandering around being like a jobber, and you just have to make money as a jobbing adventurer trying to make gold. Well, the issue is that you want to buy good equipment as well, so it's actually harder than you think to get that money because.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's fairly easy to raise the money, but like the trade-off with buying good stuff, and the good stuff is expensive.
Oh yeah,
as well in the game, and if you play it with all the bells and whistles, there's that. There are those guys in the, we talked about Ribald. The little DLC. The little DLC merchants that are in there as well.
There's
like their stuff is like 20 grand. like for and you want that robe. You want that robe. So it's just like it's how I would say the meat of the game is chapter 2, really.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's actually split into 2 chapters. It's chapter 2, and then once you give them the money, it opens into chapter 3, I believe. And then chapter 4 is when you go to the island. You go to Spellhold.
Yeah, but then like chapter 6 is like, well, you're not going to take on the dragon. I do. But what, at level 11, you'll destroy you.
No, I think I take him on when I come back from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Unless I decide to. Well, actually, do you want to know what I do? Sometimes I do every single other thing I can do, and then I take on that dragon before going to Spellhold. Sometimes it depends if I can be asked or not. I do fight that shadow dragon though. That's a bit easier before going to Spellhold because that one's not so bad. I mean, the one that you don't have to fight, you can sneak past it.
I would say Fikrag is a tough fight for anybody. He's tough.
It's tough, but you can also do the cloud kill cheese.
Oh, you just cheese him. Yeah. I know you can cheese him. I'm saying that if you do it honorably, it's a tough fight. But you can do the lower resistance cheese as well on him. Lower resistance.
I prefer to just fight him straight up because it's more it's just epic. Just fucking you charge him and then he knocks your guys back and they just get up and charge him again and you just chugging health potions and all sorts of stuff. It's good times.
So there are some challenges, but what I'm saying is the game gives you a chance to finish up basically in chapter 6 any kind of loose ends that were too tough first time round type thing. I'm trying to think of some other, like that twisted room fight is fucking tough as well. That would be the time to do it in chapter 6, wouldn't it?
Which one? Which fight's that?
The twisted room where you have to open that little door with a rogue stone.
Oh yeah,
that's a hard fight. Yeah. There's a beholder down there and a bloody vampire, and they're like an uber high level party. There's a lich in there, I think.
Oh yeah, I know. Is that the one where the I'm thinking of the Illithid little layer, the Illithid layer.
Let me show you. I'll jog your memory.
Yeah, I might not refer to it as that. Show me which one it is.
Yeah, it's known as the Twisted Room.
That's not the Beholder cult, is it?
No, it's no. So this is just a random door that opens up with a rogue stone, so like a secret door, and you end up in this layer here. I'll just show you the.
It's probably been a long time since I've done this bit.
Yeah, I mean it's it's completely optional, but you end up in this place here, and there's a beholder, there's a vampire, there's a lich, it's just like all the high level baddies all in one place, and they will absolutely cream you if you went there in chapter 2. That you need to be fairly leveled up for that fight.
There's certain stuff that you just need to leave for right at the end of the game, kind of. There's that. I like the bit where you're in that sphere just appears in the middle of the city, and
the planar sphere.
Yeah, the planar sphere. Yeah, I love doing that one because it's just like I was saying at the beginning of the stream about different planes of existence. At one point, you literally go to hell in the planar sphere to get a demon heart, so you can get back to the city where you started. It's a good one. That I like that one. Oh, and it's got cannibal halflings as well, so that's always fun.
Yeah, I tell you, there's another really hidden fight, by the way. I think it's like up on the roof in the temple. It's just no story or anything, unexplained. Bunch of badasses on the top of a roof. I think it's in the temple district. Randomly, there's this like guarded compound, and you go in there, and that's a fucking hard fight.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's that building in the temple district, and then when you go upstairs, it's just full of absolute giga chads who just wreck you if you're not prepared for it.
That's a tough fight as well. It's one of the I tell you another really tough fight that gets you on the hop. Even kind of surprised me on my last playthrough was the there's like a kind of group of like what are those evil gnome things called? they've got special like Dungans or something.
Dwerger, it's evil dwarves.
Dwerger,
evil
dwarves. Yeah, there's a party of them down in the sewer somewhere fairly early on. That's a tough fight early in BG2.
Oh, I know. It's not Dwerger, is it? It's just there's evil adventurers down in the sewers.
But there's a dwarf. I'm sure there's a dwarf.
There might be a dwarf with them. Yeah.
That's a tough fight, though.
Yeah.
It takes you by surprise, that one.
You need a few fireballs on that one to soften them up a bit.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some other like unexpected tough fights in there. I mean, all of the stuff in that tower in Throne of Ball is hard as well. What's it called?
I can't remember what it's called, but I know exactly which one you mean.
The one with the Demogorgon down the bottom.
Yeah, the Demogorgon right at the bottom, which is really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, people saying they cheesed Kangax. I don't know how you can't not cheese him. He's basically unbeatable without cheese, isn't he?
Well, you just
what's the legal way of beating him?
You have a berserker and you go berserk and you just hit him because he can't really do.
Yeah,
much.
I always just stick that special mirror thing on Korgan and make him go berserk, and there's no other way to beat him, is there?
You'd be struggling. There might be, but that's what I always do. I just cheese. I just cheese Kangax, to be honest. You got to use a bit of cheese sometime.
I think there's a lich fight late on in the Drow City that can be tough as well. If you're not, because you have to use so many counter magics, and it's all quite complicated. That
any fight where you have to fight A, vampires, or B, illithids is always going to be tricky because they can just do all sorts of nasty shit to you.
I mean, I must admit, in the illithid layer, I have been known to hide outside the door, animate dead, send in a big skeleton warrior because they can't have they don't have brains.
Yeah.
And just wait until the skeleton warrior cleans house, basically, because I can't stand having to undo the bloody brain damage. Same with the drain. Same with the drain level. It's such a pain in the ass.
With the illithids, you need clerics can have a spell that's the opposite of chaotic commands, and you cast that on a character, and it renders them immune to all of the kind of psychic brainy stuff.
I can't remember the equipment, but there's something that gives you that like permanently as kind of passive. I can't remember the name of the equipment now, but yes, that it's called. It's not freedom. It's got this. You're right. It's got the same symbol as chaotic commands.
But it's blue rather than red.
Yeah. I tend to just throw a lot of summons at them, hide behind the door. Kind of,
Well, bit of cheese now and again.
All right, so let's carry on then. Going through the characters of BG2. I would say, I mean, all the stuff we've said so far about why it's the best RPG really apply to BG2, the Shadows of Arm part, but I kind of like the Throne of Ball as well.
It felt a bit rushed. It should have been a full game, but they wanted to make Neverwinter Nights, basically. They wanted to make Neverwinter Nights, so they kind of rushed Throne of Ball and put it as an expansion rather than a full game. And so I resent them for that a bit, but it's still quite good. It's still a pretty good adventure.
Yeah, and those like 4 gods, or they're not gods, but they're kind of like balls,
like really like heavy duty ball spawn. Yeah,
they're all quite interesting fights and different types of enemies. And I mean, I don't know whether this is just like growing up watching what's that Bruce Lee film where he faces the guy in the Hall of Mirrors, Fist of Fury. I've always liked the idea of working through like 4 badass bosses before getting to the end boss type thing, and Throne of Ball's got that. It's like, here are 4 doubly hard bastards with different powers to take on. You have to kill them all before you get to the big bad. In fact, kind of like Dark Souls does it as well.
There's a serious Dark Souls comparison there. You kind of have to hack your way through all your siblings, your half brothers and sisters. You have to kill them all. But you have to technically kill every single one of them, I believe, apart from Immerwin. So, Well, they've been killing all of the other ones for you. The four sort of badasses who started a full-on war. They basically redo the Saravok plan, essentially, and start a full-on war to kill as many of the Ballspawn and kill as many people as they can.
There are some quite epic kind of battle, like full-scale battles in Throne of Ball, where they're trying to like catapult the city and shitloads of units on screen and all that.
Fire
sort of
giants.
Stuff.
Yeah.
The film is Enter the Dragon, by the way, the Bruce Lee film.
There you go.
Somebody's saying, can you get BG2 on Steam? I don't know.
You can get enhanced edition on Steam. Yeah.
Huh?
You can get enhanced edition of BG2 on Steam.
I mean, the way to play it these days would be to get BG1 and 2 enhanced edition, and then get the BG trilogy mod to merge them all together. Plus, get there's like a mega mod manager thing you can get, where you can basically pick and choose which mods you're going to take, and it's all just in one. It's made fairly. I mean, you can have a look at some. I'm pretty sure there's some easy guides online to do it, but I wouldn't add too much beyond the trilogy. Maybe I just get rid of the level cap. Although I think the level cap is basically like 30 or 40 in Throne of Ball anyway, but
it's good to play the game as the designers intended the first time you play it, really. Apart from a few quality of life improvements, then.
But if you don't put the level cap in, you could get some annoyances like being stuck waiting to leave BG1, like on the BG1 level cap is what I'm thinking.
True. Yeah, I suppose so.
Anyway, let's do the BG2.
I mean, we didn't fully explain the plot of BG2, but people should really play it if they want to know what Irenicus's deal is, really. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think we talked through the BG1 stuff, but that stuff like people wouldn't get even if they played it, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so this is Aerie the fairy, literally a fairy. She's like an elf, right?
They're winged elves, but she doesn't have wings, and she's just this constantly fucking whiny, annoying. She's a lovely girl, but she's incredibly fucking irritating.
She is whiny.
She's so whiny, and I just wanted to shut up. I just like, oh, stop it.
Doesn't she get turned into an ogre or something at some point?
Yeah, they're in right at the beginning of the game. There's that quest in the circus tent where there's some little mage who has a small man complex. He's a gnome. He has a small man complex and turns the whole thing into this big illusion, and she gets turned into an ogre, illusion ogre.
I will say one thing about her, as annoying as she is. Because she's a cleric mage, she is an absolute spell powerhouse.
Oh, like, yeah.
She's probably the most complete spell set of any person. What are her stats?
Let me check. She's very powerful in terms of just capability. Let's have a look. She's got a dex of 17 for some reason, and she's got 16 intelligence, 16 wisdom. So
I mean, if you take her down to that machine in the, if you take her to the bit in Throne of Ball and up her other stats a little bit, if you want to spend them on her, she could be an absolute powerhouse. Because with dex 17, cleric mage, it's multi-class. Can a cleric mage use stuff that mages can't use? Like, can she wield like a mace and stuff like that?
She can wield a mace. She can wear a helmet, but she can't. If she wears armor, she loses the ability to cast magic spells. Not cleric spells, but just mage spells.
Yeah, but I mean, with all of those spells, I suppose you could just stick like magic armor on her.
Yes,
like, just
exactly.
buff it to hell. She could be an absolute. I mean, there's many different ways you can play with her, but yeah, she's a significantly powerful character.
She's just so irritating, and she's like the sort of anime waifu type character, I feel, and step over.
Can you romance Aerie?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever done it.
You can, yeah.
God, sir, I can imagine it being so annoying.
Yeah.
I've never done the romance with her. Maybe I'll play through as a good party and take her with me.
As someone in the chat's pointing out, you can put the elven chainmail on her, and when you've got the elven chainmail on, you can cast mage spells, even with that armor on, because it's super light. armor.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the special elven male. And also, I mean, there's so many different ways you could play with it, but you could like polymorph. You could get it to change into other stuff. Buffed, couldn't you? Can you do that? Can you buff as a?
Yes.
I mean, you know, bark skin and iron skin and all the cleric buffs plus all the mage. You know, you could probably solo the game just with her. To be honest. Anyway.
Here we go.
There he is. Twat himself.
Oh, what a knob!
Why don't you like Animin?
Well, he's lawful neutral, which is the worst alignment that there is, really, because it's like you follow the law, but you're not really a good person. You're just kind of but you think you're a good person. You know, like
I mean, he's very arrogant, isn't he, Animin? He's like a rich kid. He rates himself. Isn't there something like he's got some issue with his dad? I seem to remember some like.
I mean,
trying to prove himself.
He's trying to prove to. He's from a noble family, isn't he? I've seen a lot of eerie simps in the chat, by the way. So step over.
I mean, I've taken him all the way through. I think he was in one of my parties once. He can turn good, can't he? You can make him good at some point.
Yeah, but you can also make him evil. If I remember, if you basically, God, what is it? It's been a long time since I've taken him in my party because he's a fucking twat. But I think if you, on these personal quests, if you basically get him to get revenge and kill the person or whatever, he will become evil. he'll just go full evil because.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with BG2 is that if you've never played it, it's worth taking all these characters at least to do their quest, and then you can dump them maybe. But Animan's got a great quest, I would say. Kind of interesting, involving, kind of personal quest. I mean, that's the other thing.
It says
that's the other thing that happens in chapter 2, by the way.
His quest. It says you'll become lawful good if he becomes a knight, or chaotic neutral if he fails his test. So
that's the other thing we didn't say, Time Stealer, which is that a lot of chapter 2 will be taken up like doing the various things that all of your characters want to do, because they're pretty insistent that you do their quests.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Like Corgan, if you take him, we will get to him. He's like, "Come on, when are we going to get my treasure?" Like, you know, you're not keeping your end up. So they're very insistent on that you do their quests.
Edwin's so you'll like that as well. He wants that. He wants the Never. Is it like the Never Scroll? Is it?
So it works quite well though, because if you take Corgan and Edwin, they both
in the same place.
In the same place, you know. So
you
min max. But anyway, yes. Animan. Doesn't he sleaze? Like if you've got females in the party, doesn't he try to sleaze on each?
Yeah, he does. He does. Yes, he's. That's why he's chaotic neutral, because he's kind of sleazy. And
does he try to sleaze on Airy? Like, does he try to?
I believe he does. Yes, I believe he does. And then at one point they have an argument. If he goes chaotic neutral, they have an argument and he attacks her or something. I can't remember. I might be getting confused with someone else. I'm sure chat will remind me.
See, this is the other thing, is that even though I've played this game so many times, there are things that I don't know because of various combinations I haven't taken. So, like, what would happen if you had Viconico and Animin? Does he try to sleaze on her?
Probably, but she won't be having any of it because you know,
she tell him to go away.
Yeah. Also, if you're a female character, you can romance Animin, I believe. So.
Okay, so that's
not that any women watch this show. So.
I mean, the thing is that would women like? See, I feel like there's too much like genuine RPG-ness for women to play this game. But...
You say that, but Baldur's Gate does have quite a big female fan base, and BioWare in general has quite a big female fan base. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, maybe there's so much character stuff that I could just see a lot of the kind of stats side of it putting them off, maybe, but maybe not.
I mean, those women are probably autistic, like you and I, so you know that's why they like the stats. But not as obviously males are the majority because they always are in these sort of things, but it does have a fairly substantial. I think there's just women. There's a certain type of woman that likes the fantasy stuff. You know, that they like fantasy and whatnot.
So then here's Cern. He's the Native American type druid guy. I mean, he's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, he's okay. He's okay.
I mean, he can turn into a werewolf. That's not bad.
Well, that's always fun. He's got a very soothing voice. And
Calm. It's much like that calm poster that I see.
yeah, he basically is calm poster the character. He's very chill. He's a pretty cool guy, really. He's a druid, but he's not like an absolute cunt like Faldorn in the first game.
No.
Because there's like a schism in the druid sort of thing where is it the shadow druids who are like the Extinction Rebellion and want to just kill everyone, and then you've got like the cool cozy
nature loving,
who are just a bit more chill.
Now I know if your character is a druid, you can become like the grandmaster of that.
Yes, that particular quest. There's a quest where you go to a place called Trade Meet, which is to the east of Athkatla, and the city's being attacked by various animals, and they're being sent by the Shadow Druids, and it's led by Faldorn. And there's 3 ways of resolving it. Either if you're a druid, you can challenge Faldorn and become the leader, or Cern can challenge her and become the leader, or Jaheira can challenge her and become the leader.
Oh, I didn't know Jaheira could do it. I knew he could become it, but I didn't know that Jaheira could do it. That's really interesting. Does he leave the party if you do that, or
I can't remember. It's been a long. I've only taken him in my party once, I think, and that was a long time ago. But Jaheira stays, so I would assume he stays as well.
Do you know what's the absolute pain of him? He can't fucking use anything. That's the trouble with druids. They can't, like, literally. It's like staff.
They won't wear metal armor, will they? That's why Jaheira's better, because she can wear actual proper grown up armor rather than just some leather. So she does have that advantage. And that's why I don't like druids.
And then when he shapeshifts, doesn't it unequip all his stuff as well? That was a pain in the ass as well.
I think it does. Yeah. I never really use shapeshift that much because in the second game it's kind of redundant a bit, really. But
I mean, there's some cheese uses for it, like shapeshift to a mustard jelly. I think they're resistant to everything, so it's like sometimes you can cheesily turn into a mustard jelly.
The jellies are really weird. Like you said, they're resistant to certain types of damage. There's some of them that are only damageable by blunt weapons and all that sort of stuff. And it's interesting.
I'm just trying to think now. Oh yes, Trade Meet. I love the statues you get. Isn't that the town where you save the town and they give you a statue?
Yes, they give the whole party statues in.
I love that.
In the square, in the fountain.
I love that. Yeah. That's so awesome. Anyway, there he is, my boy.
He's your boy.
Again, absolutely vital. I kind of get annoyed that he's not just like standing in the pub ready to recruit right at the start. That you have to like. There's quite a lot of.
I mean, it's not that difficult to get him, though, is it? Really?
Yeah, you still have to do that whole quest before he.
I do love how he's, like you said, he's just slumming it with these lot of like Shadow Thief sub guild, like a sub guild below the main guild, and he's just their mage and minion, and he's just slumming it, and he hates them. He's like, these guys are shit and they suck.
If you had unlimited time stealer, you could do like like you did the hierarchy in BG1, you could do like Shadow Thief hierarchy.
Oh you've got the Renal the Blood Scalp. He's my favorite one. Renal Blood Scalp. He's like the guy who you think's the boss of the Shadow Thieves, but he's not actually the real boss.
There's so many layers of hierarchy in the Shadow Thief.
There's just in that Shadow Thief layer. There's just so many like random.
Who is the ultimate? Is it that Aronal?
Yeah. I can't remember his name now. It begins with A. He's the true Shadow Thief leader, and Renal Bloodscalp is like the pretend leader who you think's in charge, but it's actually is it Galen?
Galen Bale. He's the guy who he's the guy who goes cool.
Yeah,
he's the guy. He's the guy who says,
he's the guy who
$20,000.
Yeah, cool. Do you know what one of my favorite little lines in the entire game is when you first meet the guy who's running the sub guild for the Shadow Thieves, and he basically says, he tells you to speak to his mage who's working for him, and you don't know it's Edwin, and he says he's he likes his comforts, which makes me definitely think of you now in retrospect. Like, just imagine Edwin with his Bigham's ready meals and stuff, his Nescafe Gold.
So the irony of Edwin slumming it, working at the bloody dock branch of the Shadow Thieves.
Well, the main Shadow Thieves is at the docks, but yeah, they have the dock sub branch as well. That's also
bloody a Swindon branch. Is that Edwin but probably just nuke that place on his own?
Probably, yeah.
There is a kind of trans thing storyline, I guess you could say these days, where he gets. Why does he get turned into a woman again?
He reads the Never Scroll because he wants to get the power of the Never Scroll, but he doesn't actually know what it does. And then I don't think it happens immediately, but then he turns into a woman, and his voice actually changes. They have a different voice actor for when he's a woman.
Yeah.
And they have like different voice lines where it's like where he says, like, in a battle, he's like, "I saw you looking at my chest," and he's like, and then you're talking to him about it, and he's like, "Oh, these tits are all right, actually." Like, he's kind of digging it, you know.
But I he does get turned back eventually, doesn't he?
Eventually, but then in one of his endings, it's implied that he turns himself back to the female again and becomes a Edwina and works in a bar and quite likes it. So.
Degenerate. Absolutely
very
degenerate.
Like the juror said, deeply subversive.
So somebody said he's possibly the best mage in the game. There's no possibly about it. That amulet basically makes him better than you could ever be. Basically, there's no.
Yeah, he probably is the best mage in the game. Let's be honest.
No, because doesn't that amulet double his spells for every level or extra spell for every level?
It only up to a certain level.
No, all game.
Is it?
All game, which means that as soon as you unlock like level 6 spells, you suddenly got 4 of them.
Well, let me double check this.
Yeah, Edwin's amulet is the most OP item in any game ever.
Edwin's amulet.
Yeah, and he can't remove it either.
Okay, allows him to cast 1 additional spell per spell level in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 additional spells per spell level in Baldur's Gate 2. Oh, yeah, so he can. So basically, you can get to like level 6 spells and you've immediately got 3 of them.
Yeah, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. He is just...
That is OP as fuck. That's because he's a red wizard, though. He's a red wizard, so what do you expect? I mean. Yeah.
But for that reason, I can't ever... Even if I'm a mage myself, I can't not take him. But anyway, also, his ending is awesome. Have you ever taken him all the way to the end?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the one where he ends up working as a barmaid in Waterdeep. That's the ending I got for him. But
no. I got an ending where he's just like takes over like half the world. You know? Like he does some proper evil shit if you get the evil endings. I mean, you must have how you got a goody two shoes ending with Edwin in the party. I don't know.
I don't know. That's all I'm saying is that it might have been, maybe it was a mod or something that like changed it to a different one they had in mind. Or so, I don't know, but that's what I distinctly remember being the ending because.
I think you've got a Gaylord ending there. Because, I mean, it's literally like Edwin torched half the world, then got bored. Like something like that. Anyway. Then we have this Hair-Dillis the Bard, right?
Hair-Dallis, yes.
Yeah.
He's a tiefling. He's a tiefling, which is a part demon person.
He's got kind of an interesting like quest where you have to try to find him and stuff, hasn't he? Isn't he up in that like tower or something?
This bunch of actors who are from different planes of existence, they ask you to find him because he's part of their troupe, and then you go into that mage's lair that's in the sewers, and you have to... I think Hair-Dallis stole something that belonged to the mage, and then you have to find Hair-Dallis, and the mage is not happy, so you usually kill him and blah, blah, blah. And...
So, someone is talking about leveling up, by the way, and this is something else that we haven't mentioned that is so good about this game. How exciting is it when you get the little level up cross and the little noise?
Oh, really?
It's so exciting.
The best part is when you do like a big boss battle, and then after you beat the boss, like 4 of your people level up.
Everybody levels up.
You got a sort of ping. Yeah.
The level. I mean, one day my friend Morcar may make a what makes a good RPG video element. The leveling up mechanic is arguably one of the most important. And again, I feel like some games make it less exciting than it should be. It should really be an event when you level up.
One thing that I will say is that when you level up as like a fighter, it's kind of boring because you don't really do much.
Yeah, there's not a lot to do. Yeah,
there's not a lot to do. Whereas it's not so much that leveling up is important per se in Baldur's Gate. It's that you don't level up that often because the level cap is quite low. So, whereas in other games, you level up all the time, and it kind of devalues the leveling up really if you just get tons of levels all the time. So,
it's more of an event, maybe.
It is more of an event.
Exciting. Yeah. All right. So let's. There she is. There's Imoen in her new black pilled look.
Yes. She's learnt to cast magic in between the first and the second game.
Yeah. She's got some scars, look, and the braids you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got some very good stats, though. So she's got 18 dex, 16 con, 17 intelligence, 16 charisma. So
yeah, not bad.
Pretty
and again, good. you can level up. You can give her an extra intelligence if that bugs you.
Yes.
In that. Forget it's not Durlog's Tower. What's the name of the bloody place?
I can't remember.
Anyway, let's carry on.
I'm gonna have to double check this. You carry on.
Yeah. So here's Jaheira.
Jaheira. She looks really weird in the second one.
She does, doesn't she?
She's like she became Asian or something in the second one. I think it's because they decided to give a lot of the elves the kind of almond-shaped eyes.
Yeah.
And her lips.
Actually, more of a munter than I remember.
She is like you said, quite overbearing. But we already kind of talked about her. But her husband dies at the beginning of the second game, so
which allows you to slide in.
Yes,
Yeah.
Slide into her DMs, and you get the Jaheira Nookie, and the side quest involves the Harpers, which is always interesting because, like you said, Watcher's Keep. That's the name of the tower.
Watcher's Keep.
Watcher's Keep.
Yeah. You can upgrade stats in there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Here is
Here we go.
Jansen, the Gadget Man.
The best known.
He's kind of funny character, and
he's an interesting character, and as others have said, he's a literal turnip merchant. So
he is literally a
literally
merchant. And possibly the only character that you will actually use crossbows with fairly frequently, because he's a crossbow user, isn't he?
I think some of the paladin-y characters, like Keldorn, might start with.
That's true. Yeah,
they might start with a point in crossbows. Yeah, but mostly, he's probably the only character you'd use the crossbow as the primary weapon with would be Jan. So
yeah, he's good. I like him, and he's useful because he's got thief. He's an illusionist thief, I seem to recall.
Yes, which is the best school if you're a thief, because you just make yourself invisible using magic. So
yeah,
very useful. Probably the best thief in the game. Well, he is the best thief in the game. So,
he's the only one really.
Apart from Nadia, but we'll go on to her later. So
there is Keldorn.
There's Keldorn. Yeah, that's Keldorn.
Kind of classic knight, which kind of talked about him earlier.
He's got the silver coming into his hair. He's a family man. He's trad, religious.
Have a few kind of wife issues.
He does have some domestic issues, yes, but that's because he's being too based, and he's always going out being a paladin, smiting evil, and he's not spending enough time at home. So, his problem is that he's too based in some ways. He's kind of like the lawful good paladin-y archetype, but he also has a family, so he's kind of he is a bit of a 10 in a way. Really, in some ways he's a 10. So someone said Keldorn is basically the distributist in BG form.
So there we go. Yeah, Keldorn, and that's another place you can hang out and get quite friendly with. Is all the Radiant Heart guys. They've got quite a developed kind of story.
Yeah, if you take a paladin as your class, their place becomes like your your headquarters, because in this game you get your own sort of little crib that you can hang out in, and it varies between classes. So
people are saying that he is actually being cucked.
Yeah, I forgot that in his side quest, his wife, because he's not at home enough. His wife's, that's the problem when you become a 10. Sometimes, you need to. You can't focus on.
Don't you have to like talk him out of taking revenge, or is he that like?
I think you do. Yes.
I can't remember what he does now. Isn't he ready to like kill the lover or something? I can't remember. Can't remember. Or is that the Animan one?
In Animan, you definitely have to talk Animan out of killing someone, but they might be the same for Keldor as well, because you might have to talk him out of killing the man who's cuckolding him. I can't quite remember.
The thing is in this game as well is that you can basically kill anybody in the game, even like generic NPCs, peasants, whatever. But there's a big distinction between kind of nobleman or peasant or kind of non like. There are a lot of NPCs who aren't actually like they can't fight basically, but you can just kill them if you want. I mean, you'll take a massive reputation loss,
and also the guards will come after you.
And the guards will come after you, and
which at the beginning of the game can be a real problem because they've all got full plate plate.
It's actually possible to turn the entire game hostile against you.
Yes.
But I can't remember, but I want to say that the lover is one of those weasel noblemen. You know that model with they're wearing the little hat and things.
Away with you, beggar!
Yeah, away with you, beggar! Exactly. I mean, I don't think he actually could kill him, could he? Without massive reputational damage.
He wouldn't be lawful good anymore if he did. So unless the penalty for cuckoldry is like death, then maybe he would. But I don't know. I'm not familiar with the intricate marriage laws of the Nation of Arm. So
that's okay. There's Corgan. I take him a lot because he is he's probably the best tank. Isn't his Constitution 20 as well?
His Constitution is 19.
19, but then his
strength is 18/77, so he can actually do damage as well. Yeah,
he is an absolute beast, and he can dual wield axes too. Axe in both hands. Absolute beast.
Yeah, he is top draw evil character to take. I mean, if you got an evil party, you basically have to take him because he's just that good.
He's also the classic Scottish surly kind of ale swigging. Me axe be bloody ready.
Me axe be bloody ready. Yeah, he sounds a bit like what's his name? Was it Private Fraser from Dad's Army, the Scottish one? We're all doomed. You meet him in the Copper Coronet as well, which is like
straight away
hive of scum and villainy. The Copper Coronet, it really is.
He is very mercenary as well. He's kind of his evil is geared towards like loot and he's just a pure kind of because in a way, even though he's evil, in a strange way, he's not like an absolute scumbag.
It's weird because if
you play with him enough, you'll find he's got standards.
Yeah, he's chaotic evil, but in a weird way, he's also not chaotic evil. He's kind of more neutral evil.
Is he chaotic? Is he? He feels, but he's written more like a neutral evil character.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but
but I mean, if you take him long enough, he often actually gives kind of like quite sage advice. Because he's Anyway, let's carry on. Here is this Mazzy Fenton?
Yes, she is a halfling fighter who you meet when you're doing the quests for that little village where the ranger's gone missing. And there's all that.
That Valigar, the ranger, isn't it?
Yeah, he's no, he's not actually. He's hiding out in the same area.
Right. She lives there though.
You find her in the temple ruins. You know that temple that's infected with all the shadows, and then her parents actually live in Trade Meat. Her parents are in Trade Meat. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I had her in my party, but it was a very long time ago. She can fire a short bow. She's all right, I guess. She's all right.
Meh.
Bit meh.
Bit meh. Yeah, she's a halfling. What are you gonna do?
There's Minsk.
There he is.
What do you think of his portrait for this game?
I mean, he's just. I just love Minsk. He's the best, really. He's so solid, isn't he? And you know he's a total bro. And I prefer this one because Boo has a more prominent position in his portrait on this one as well. So,
Yeah,
you know,
and he doesn't have that bloody witch to simp for anymore.
He doesn't simp for the witch. No, he's just killing undead and being.
Feels like he's better looking in this game somehow.
I think he might be. Yeah, I think he might be.
And then,
here we go.
So this is Nalia, the Spoiled. What's that name of that house that she's from?
The Arnis
house.
Darnice.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is she not designed to just stand in for Immerwin while she's out of the party?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Because she's like a kind of shit Immerwin, a thief who's dueled to a mage.
She's just from this noble family, and she's her family's keep gets taken over by trolls and like snake men and whatnot, and she's just this absolute spoiled brat, like sort of very sort of spoiled leftist sort of.
Yeah.
She wants to help the common folk, but she's really doing it for as a virtue signal to make herself feel better.
Yeah.
And it's quite.
Do you know what I like though? That if you keep her in the party, the game teaches her a lesson. Basically, she gets to learn the hard way.
She learns about actual real world stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like that element.
I always do her personal quest, because the quest you do it anyway, whether she's in the party or not. I always do it quite early on because you get the Flail of Ages from that one, which is a +3 weapon. You get it really early on.
Yeah, very important. I usually give that to a cleric, of course, because they can wield it.
Yes.
Yes, very good. Okay, and it's handy that because it does
elemental damage.
Elemental damage too. Yeah. All right, and there's here's Sarah Vok.
In the expansion Throne of Baal, the expansion to Baldur's Gate 2, Saravok, who was the primary villain of the first game, you can resurrect him, and you can have him join your party. And he's chaotic evil, but he'll do what you tell him to. He's incredibly fucking strong. His stats are really good. His stats are ridiculous. He has strength is 18/100, 17 dex, 18 con, 17 intelligence.
I mean, he's basically a half god, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, he is. Yeah, he's powerful as fuck.
It's very difficult for me not to take him, of course.
Of course.
He has got other things as well, though, special things. Because I seem to remember he's got some special power that basically he can just one-shot enemies. If he's got a certain % chance to just kill. Or was it his sword, his Deathbringer Assault or whatever? It can just kill anything.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
I think it's called the Deathbringer Assault. I think it's called.
That's when you get really late in the game, and you can get all these wacky special abilities for high level characters, like stuff like that. I seem like I'd have to look it up, but I think he's got a 5% chance to just one shot anything, basically. So you could if you really wanted to cheese, you could go down to old the dragon and just keep on reloading until Saravok hits that 5%, maybe. He is a beast. Yeah.
So then I kind of he's worth taking once at least. I think you can turn him as well if you want to, be gay or whatever. But I prefer to take him as evil in his evil form.
Of course.
Yeah. And then, you can have because with that Dawn guy they bring in as well, you could have a monster tank evil party with Korgan, him, and Dawn all just give them each a massive weapon, and that would be a very hard party. Anyway, with then Edwin and Voikonica just flinging spells at the back, they'd be unbeatable. Anyway, let's carry on. And I guess you'd have to be a thief, I guess. Anyway, this is Valagar, who we talked about.
Yes, he is a ranger. He's technically a stalker character, but he's a ranger, which is he's interestingly the quest for him has something to do with the planosphere, because the guy who built the planosphere is one of his ancestors, and so you need him or his body to open the planosphere to get in, because it's key to like the guy who built his DNA. So I always just kill him, to be honest, because I can't even taking it. I can't even take his
body to open the.
Yeah, you just put his body in a backpack.
But he can actually join the party, can't he?
He can, yeah. But I just, I'm not really a big fan of rangers and stuff, because I prefer to just have them in melee and have wizards and stuff at the back. So,
I mean, if you're going to make the nature party, right, you'd have him, Minsk, and the druids, then, wouldn't you? The Cerned and I'm just trying to think of a theme party, and maybe that Mazzy woman. He's kind of naturey, I guess.
I was trying to remember the name of the person who he looks like, and someone in chat said it's Ludacris, who's in the Fast and Furious films. He just does look like.
Yeah, he also looks a little bit like Saracen from Gladiators back in the mid-90s.
That's an obscure. That might go over the head of a lot of people in your audience. That reference.
Well, I mean, I'm there for the 1 out of 100 people who will get it, not the 99 who won't. But anyway, yeah, Saracen. I had him in the party once, right? He's all right with a bow, but fucking hell, if you give him a sword, he dies a lot.
Yeah,
he is useless. He's absolutely useless as a tank.
I think the party slot is just too precious to have him in there. He's just not good enough, really, to be honest. He's just
he is. He's not, even with the bow. I reckon there are still better options, even if you want a ranged character. Because like even Jan Jensen with his little crossbow could, do that job for you better than him, I reckon. But anyway, it is kind of lacking a Kivan archer build. It's meant to be him, but he's just not good enough. And then there she is. There she is.
Best girl. Vicky, best girl. I will hold my hands up and say that if I'm playing an evil character, or even a good character a lot of the time, that character will simp for Viconia a little bit, because she's the best.
She'll make you simp for her.
Exactly. She's the best. She's just...
Isn't she being burnt at the stake in this game?
Yeah, you basically after the event, when you meet her in the first game, she's being pursued by the Flaming Fist, so it's basically the police, and then you can kill the police officer and save her. And now in the second one, you've got just this mob of just sort of bigots who just want to burn her at the stake for being a drow, and then you save her from the zealots, and you recruit her to your party.
Yeah. If you romance her, she wants to sleep with you a lot.
Yes, because she's a drow.
I don't think Aerie or the other one put out that much.
I mean, they do eventually, but Vicky's she knows what she wants. She's.
It's so sleazy in the game as well, because
it is.
It just it takes you to that cutscene of the rest, and that little rat runs past. So it always feels really sleazy when it happens. A little rat runs past as you're shagging.
Also, in this, she's got the hood because daylight, direct sunlight actually hurts her skin. It burns her skin and stuff, because not like a vampire, but it's because she's a drow and she's used to living underground her entire life. So, she has the hood correctly, and also because she wants to hide the fact that she's a drow, because everyone hates drow on the surface, because they're evil. So
yeah, I like the fact the game makes her evil. So it doesn't really, it's not trying to lean into social justice stuff.
You can make her sort of like we said before, neutral, but yeah, she's pretty. It's not even that she's sort of evil in that mustache, in the same way Edwin is. Edwin is just a cunt, isn't he? Whereas Vicky's more evil in the sort of, she just comes from an entirely different society, but has entirely different morals and entirely different. I know we're getting to moral relativism here, but she lives underground in a matriarchal society, and it's just like her world
is a different set of moral values.
She's basically an alien. So,
and you will respect the male, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And then we have Shimo, who would be a really awesome thief and a bow wielder if you're actually allowed to take him through the game, but you're not.
Going back to Viconia again, actually, do you remember the reason why she's on the surface?
No.
I do. She was a priestess of Lolth, which is I know it's literally called Lolth. It's the spider goddess. That's the one the Drow worship. And
yes.
I think she was ordered to kill a human baby in a ritual sacrifice, and she refused to do it, and so she got banished to the surface.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah, and that's why she's on the surface, because
so she is kind of a bit goody two shoes for a drow, you know.
For a drow, yeah, by drow standards, she's basically quite soft, but that's drow standards. So look at her, she's fabulous. She's got she's fabulous hair, her eyebrow game's on point. What more do you want?
And then finally we have Yoshimo, who is Yoshimo is willing.
Yoshimo is willing. I can dance in the head of a pin as well.
We can't really talk much about him without major spoilers, I suppose.
Well, I mean, we already kind of spoiled that by talking about him earlier, so we can confirm that he dies, and you can't stop it. He's from Karatur, which is Japan, basically in Forgotten Realms. It's Forgotten Realms Japan, and much like real Japanese people, he's good at mathematics. So, Yeah, there's a quest early on, that one in the tent with the illusions, where if he's in your party, you can basically cheese your way through a number-based riddle because he's good at maths, because he's Japanese, which is an interesting stereotype. I'm not sure you get away with that these days, but
so yes, he's kind of cool character, but also kind of bold that you majorly introduce you to this character and then
it was a bold move.
Yeah, quite a bold move, which is another reason why BG2 is one of the greatest games ever. So
yes.
Anyway, let's do some super chats. The entropy, just the one in there I saw, is Jupero says, "Hey there, I need a name to stencil onto my motorbike. It's a 1984 Honda Goldwing Interstate in burgundy red." You need a name.
Why are you asking us?
Make it Morcar in bold letters.
And people will think your bike's named after an ancient Northumbrian king.
Yeah. Who also had wasn't it Edwin and Morcar?
I think it was. It might have been. Yeah.
Chris Brymer says, "What's your highest dice roll for character generation?" Mine's 94. Basically, as long as it takes.
Oh, you're that guy, are you? Who will?
Oh yeah, as long as it takes. Yeah.
Do you know what I like? The character creator caters for that by you can save rolls as well. You can save a roll just in case, and then you keep going until you get 90 something.
Or in the end, just get Shadowkeeper out. Infernal Force.
Jeez.
Yeah, not cheating. Just to save yourself the time. Internal 460 says, KOTOR and Dragon Age Origins is my benchmark for any Western RPG. I mean,
they're good games, but you can't compare them to BG2. I like KOTOR. It's good if you like Star Wars. I love Dragon Age Origins. But no, Baldur's Gate 2 is better. I'm sorry, you're wrong. But they are good. They're good. But no.
Moat Fishflake says, Baldur's Gate 2 is the best game of all time. It's easy to mod, and 20 years later, I'm still finding new content. Oh yeah, I mean, it's the very dedicated mod community as well. Has been
some of the mod companions you can get are actually quite good as well. They're actually pretty well done, implemented. They're not overpowered or anything.
Yeah, one of the best ones is called Unfinished Business. I would say that's.
Yeah.
I think the actual developers made that one, but it's well worth getting.
I put something in private chat, by the way, as well. It's some of the official game art for Irenicus, just so we can see how much of an absolute giga chad this man is.
Oh yeah, there's Irenicus. So there he is. Yeah, there's Irenicus. I mean, he's got a kind of interesting backstory and stuff as well. But
yes,
we shouldn't spoil it too much. And then Benjamin Root said, suggest Caves of Cud to Morcar. Caves of Cud. Mott Fishflakes says, one of the worst things Beamdog did was fuck with the romances. Why would a half-elf wild mage want to be with a dwarf? SJWBS. Oh, I didn't realize that they'd done that. I didn't realize that they'd, messed around with who could romance who.
Oh, I mean, they're talking about Nero, which is one of the new ones, so they probably just made them romanceable by anyone because, it's like, in the game, Viconia won't romance an elf because she doesn't like elves, basically, like non-drow elves. She hates non-drow elves that much that she won't romance one. She'll romance a half-elf, but not a full-blooded elf because they just have this ancestral hatred of them.
Will Vicky refuse to be in the party with Aerie then?
No, but she will bully her mercilessly until there's a fight breaks out. We forgot to mention you can have romance conflicts as well. If you're romancing more than one character, they will actually get into an argument with each other and start fighting over you, which is always entertaining.
Dark Light Zero says, have you played Pathfinder Kingmaker AA? No, I have not. I've seen a lot of people mention that game. Have you played it?
I have it installed on Steam, but I've still not got around to playing it because I want to, though, because I like those kind of games. It does seem very Baldur's Gate. Yeah, I've played Pillars of Eternity, though, 1 and 2. They are quite Baldur's Gate as well.
Any good?
Yeah, no, the first one especially. I did enjoy the first one. I like the fact that you can get firearms. You can get not like proper, like you can't get an AR-15 or anything, but you can get like muskets, and like stuff like that, which adds an extra kind of bit of weapon type and dimension. And some of the characters were quite good. It's not as good as BG2 or anything, but it was all right. Yeah, it was quite fun.
Managerial Elite Toaster says, I heard of strategy with Saravok of surrounding him with your party, then kicking them all out so they just stand around blocking him from moving. It can be quite a tough fight, that Saravok one, but
yes.
I can do it easily, but
Well, that's what fireballs are for, so
Jedi Knight Anakin Cringewalker says, I'm going to recommend Dishonored 1. Also, it's DLC. Dishonored 2 and Doto are both great in their own way, but Dishonored 1 was phenomenal, rich lore and nice vibes. So there we go, Dishonored 1. Played that one?
Not played that one, no.
And then Darklight Zero says, these bars, they bend and twist with my berserker strength.
Nice reference.
And Mott Fishflake says, screw Imoen, use a mod and get a real thief. Or use Jan Jensen. He isn't a pure thief, but he is multi-class, so his thief skills level up. Yeah, I mean, Jan Jensen is a very capable thief, I would say, but he's pretty much your only option apart from Imoen, or you could use Nalia, I guess, or make yourself a thief.
Yeah, like they said, there's some good mod thiefs. There was a tiefling thief you could get as a mod called Fade, I think her name was, and she was like a red-headed tiefling who wears a lot of leather. So naturally, I was quite a big fan.
And there is that vampire Hexat
as well.
Yeah, who's in the Beamdog one now.
Yes,
I mean she's all right. The Beamdog characters are all a bit one-dimensional, to be honest, but they got good stats. So, all right, Time Stealer. Anything else to mention about BG before we get out of here?
No, I did quite like the monk character actually that Beamdog added. Rasard, he was all right actually. I had him in my party when I played Enhanced Edition because monks are always interesting. All
right, well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope people enjoy this. A little bit different, talking about a video game, but one of the if we were going to talk about any video game, this was a good one.
Mm-hmm. You can't have Morcar taking up all the video game content. Oh, by the way, I'm working on Morcar Wars Episode 2. Just it's taken a long time because I've been busy. There's a lot of video editing, but it is coming. It is going to be an epic conclusion of the Morcar Wars saga.
I await that with fun. All right. Thank you very much, Time Stealer. Now, everybody, time to get out.